Hello, welcome to this new video today. Today I will recap everything we know about Regulation F, and in order to do that I categorized all archetypes. As you can see on the screen, we've got Bold Balance, we've got Ursaluna Friends, we've got PsySpam, Dondozo and Tatsu, and above there are more archetypes, and I hope you're looking forward to this video because I spent a lot of time figuring out everything. You will get 3 sets, 3 spreads, and I will give you my knowledge. So yeah, just stay here until the end, I would say, because this is what you need to know if you want to perform well in the next global challenge, grand challenge, as well as like there are more regionals. There's Houston, there's Seattle, there's also in Europe, there's Seville. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started with Bold Balance, okay? And Bold Balance is the archetype that won the European International Championship in the end, piloted by Paul Chua, and it also dominated the entire tournament. I think there were 6 Bold Balances in Top Cut, and everybody always says, oh, Bold Balance, it's on everybody's radar, but it's just so hard to count, and I will tell you why. So, first of all, the key pieces of Bold Balance are Raging Bolt, the name already suggests it, Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Urshifu. What makes those 4 so strong is that you've got double fake out, like Incineroar plus Rillaboom. We've seen it in past formats as well, like with Calyrex Shadow Rider, for example. Double fake out generally is really strong because the Incineroar and Rillaboom also synergize really well, since Incineroar has a weakness to water and ground, Rillaboom resists it, Rillaboom has a weakness to fire and ice, Incineroar resists it. So this is already pretty good, and if you have a Pokemon that can hit through Protect, which limits the counterplay against fake out, it's even better. So that's why there's also Urshifu, and Raging Bolt just has stats and also a great typing. And yeah, Raging Bolt usually on Bold Balance teams is played with either Booster Energy or Leftovers. As you can see, the nicknames of the Pokemon just suggests alternative options you can use on those Pokemon. So Call Might, Double Step, Raging Bull is just incredibly hard to get rid of, and Terra Fairy is used because obviously you flip the matchup against opposing Dragon types, and it also helps against stuff like Chian-Pao or Urshifu Single Strike. Usually if you run a Raging Bolt like this, Booster Energy Raging Bolt, I know that the Japanese players that participated in EOIC played like 180 models. That's quite a lot, but that also means that your Raging Bolt deals a ton of damage. And usually everyone plays around 224 or 225 speed, not speed, but HP to get extra grassy terrain recovery. And with 76 defense, you survive Adamant Ice Spinner from power every time, and Adamant Icicle Crash is heavily in your favor. So this is like a bulk a lot of players run, and if you play a leftover set, you can also just run 100 Modest. That's also good enough in order to play more bulk. Speed wise, we've seen everything. Like Paul Chua, for example, only played 4 EVs. I know some players that play just 100 Modest but also very fast Raging Bolt, I feel like 113 is something some people occasionally use, because that way you outspeed something like a -1 speed Landorus, because Landorus hits 168 if they are timid, so 112 after an Icy Wind. And Fluttermane is also a really common partner for Raging Bolt, so you could do that. If you just want to outspeed Modest -1 Landorus, then you would need 103 speed. 103 is also good because that way you outspeed max speed Adamant or Ursaluna, which is a thing on Tornadus teams, but we will get to that later on. So a spread like this one is possible. My favorite spread is probably being really bulky while still dealing decent damage. So this is definitely one of my better spreads, or one of the ones I would recommend. Incineroar, we've seen all kinds of Incineroars, as you can see here in the nickname. Paul Chua used a Citrus Berry Taunt set without Flare Blitz. Taunt is just really valuable in the mirror. It helps against Indeedee, it helps against Amoonguss, so Taunt is definitely a good tool. And with Citrus Berry, you survive a Surging Strikes from Urshifu. You need 188 impish. That way you also survive Mystic Water, Surging Strikes, which is amazing, honestly. Because sometimes in those mirror matchups, you want to switch in your Incineroar in front of an Urshifu, and if you can take a Surging Strikes, that's really valuable, and then you can dump the rest into special defense. There are also spreads that focus more on the special defense side, like 76 Carful, for example, survives a Terra Blast from Iron Crown, Terra Water Terra Blast to be precise, and also with more special defense you can increase the chance to survive a Sandseal Storm from Landorus as well. So yeah, you have a lot of wiggle room there. Speaking of Landorus, Shuka Berry is used occasionally, just to have this one free switch. And if you want to know more about Shuka Berry and Sinnoh, I can really recommend watching the last Top Takes episode, because Davide Fazio played Shuka Berry in Sinnoh and EUIC, finished top 8 with it, and he explained pretty well why Shuka Berry was so important. Safety Goggles is also a no-brainer. I mean, if you have two Pokemon that are immune to Spore, it's really good, and just having more counterplay against Amoonguss is valuable, especially since Raging Bolt otherwise might struggle against especially Terra Fairy Amoonguss, so Goggles is definitely an option. We've also seen Rocky Helmet occasionally. Just helps to break like Sash from Urshifu, Sash from Chiampao, and just get some chip damage across the board. Also punishes Fake Out to some extent, so that's pretty cool. And Terra types, Ghost is the most common one to get around fighting moves as well as to get around Fake Out, but Water and Grass can be used for Surging Strikes resistances. Grass also helps against Earth Power somewhat. So yeah. Helping Hand also was played by Davide Fazio. I think Alex Gomez played that in Toronto as well. And Helping Hand just can give you some ridiculous cards, especially with Booster Energy Raging Bolt. I think with Leftovers it doesn't make the most sense, but obviously you can also click Helping Hand on your Urshifu to just get the free damage boost. Flare Blitz also a no-brainer. Will-O-Wisp really helps against Tinglu Dondozo teams, which otherwise are somewhat hard for Raging Bolt balance. Next up we've got Rillaboom, and Rillaboom, most of the time now they run U-turn because they are also paired with Landorus, and Landorus already provides ground coverage, but high horsepower, if you don't have a Landorus, makes a lot of sense to punish the fire types like Terra Fire, Ogerpon, or Incineroar, which is why we also run Terra Fire. Terra Water has been used occasionally as well, to help with like Torn Urshifu. If you have Terra Fire, Tornadus plus Urshifu is a little rough, but you already have Raging Bolt to help with that. But sometimes Raging Bolt is not on the field, so Terra Water can also be used on Rillaboom. Also helps against like Chiampao plus Urshifu, for example. Spread-wise, I know that 116 Adamant is very common. Speed-wise, I've seen everything. Like I think Paul played 108 or 109, something like that. I also know people who speed creep Timid Blood Moon, but let's be honest, Timid Blood Moon just doesn't exist. So I guess you also outspeed Choice Scarf Modest Chiyu when it's paralyzed by Fluttermane, for example, but this speed stat is kind of fake. I would rather invest into special defense and increase the chance to survive a Terra Poison Sludge Bomb from Landorus Eye. I feel like that's more important, especially in the mirror. Next up, we've got Urshifu, and Urshifu, I only feature the Sash set right now because I have a second Urshifu spread later on. Sash Urshifu overperformed in EUIC. It finished first, it finished second, it finished third. Focus Sash Urshifu is just really, really good because Choice Scarf obviously has the problem that you are locked into a move, you don't have Protect, so the counterplay is a little easier. You get the speed advantage though. And the problem with Mystic Water Urshifu is you want to invest into bulk and then you are always slower than opposing Urshifu. So having the speed advantage against opposing Urshifu is really, really good. And especially by running 149, you also outspeed everything in that speed range like Timid Regidrago, as I said, opposing Urshifu, Goldengo, Adamant Dragonite, some Ogerpon. There's actually quite a ton running around with speed range. So It's pretty good to outspeed those. Some people also opted on a jolly nature to get the jump on Modest Landorus, which is understandable. Outspeeding Modest Landorus is super sick. Just keep in mind that you lack some damage band, so it's just a decision that you gotta make between Adamant and Jolly. Then Ogapon is the next most used partner for Raging Bolt Balance, and Sword Stance is pretty much the only set being used now. In the past, people tried Stomping Tantrum, Ogapon, people tried Focus Energy, Follow Me, but this is just the most consistent set because it gives you another win con. And yeah, most of the time you should play Jolly Make Speed because that way you at least speed tie opposing Ogapon, you outspeed Landorus, so do not consider, like, you might say, wait, I have Grassy Glide, it's a priority, Sorcerer and Spiky Shade are non-damaging moves, why should I play Make Speed? Trust me, it's really important against opposing Ogapon and Landorus, so running something like an Adamant Nature and 150 speed or something, not very smart. And you can play some bulk, however, because that way you can get some nice damage rolls. For example, I played this spread right now, which you can see on the screen, which survives the Mystic Water Surging Strikes from Urshifu. Not a Terra Water Surging Strikes, but I also still wanted to do some damage because I still wanted to KO Indeedee with Terra Ivy Cudgel. It's a very favorable role, but you can also just opt for more attack, less bulk, and say that you will position around the Surging Strikes, for example. This is, for example, the spread that Paul Schur used to win EUIC with. Next up, we've got Fluttermane. And Fluttermane is also like Pandora's box, kind of. Paul, once again, he used a Timid Nature, I think with 68 speed EVs, to get the jump on like Ogapon and Tornadus, especially like if you get a Bleak Windstorm speed drop or an Icy Wind speed drop, you're still 1 point faster than Tornadus, so that's pretty cool. And you still have enough bulk to survive Surging Strikes from Urshifu. So something like that can definitely be used. I know that some players, especially if they play T-Wave, they also run Bold Nature to just make sure that the Fluttermane stays on the field for a longer time. You should at least run 158 speed, to be fair, because Gouging Fire Max speed has 157, so you really want to outspeed that one at least. And then you can play, I think it was this spread, which survives Terra Water Surging Strikes from Urshifu, which is nuts. But yeah, moves wise, we've seen a lot. Terra type as well, like the most common Terra type is Grass, but Fairy can also be used not just offensively but also defensively, mainly to get around Sucker Punch from Urshifu and Qian Pao. So it's not just a pure offensive Terra. And we've seen Terra Water pop up in EUAC. The French group brought it, and the French group brought it with Citrus Berry Fluttermane, which is funny because they really wanted to play Booster Energy Raging Bolt. And if you play Booster Energy Raging Bolt, which item do you run on Fluttermane in the end? And they decided to run Citrus Berry, which makes sense because that way you can invest more into speed, still survive like Terra Surging Strikes or Mystic Water Surging Strikes, and you have kind of everything on your Fluttermane, so that's pretty cool. Taunt is a really, really good move on Fluttermane. I don't have to tell you that it helps against Amoonguss. It helps to prevent Parting Shot from Incineroar, helps in the mirror a ton, but Paul already had Taunt on Incineroar, which is why he did decide to drop Taunt on the Fluttermane. Pain Split is also occasionally used because, funnily enough, in the mirror, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Fluttermane just are amazing together in the mirror if you have Pain Split, because that way you just stay on the field indefinitely, which is amazing. So yeah, a lot of options you have on Fluttermane. In the end, I do think that you should always run Moonblast and Icy Wind. We've seen Taunt plus Thunder Wave, we've seen Thunder Wave plus Protect, we've seen Taunt plus Protect. In the end, it also comes down to your playstyle, which one you prefer the most. When we've got Chien Pao, and Chien Pao, this Chien Pao set especially is the one that was very popular in EUAC. I do think that all of them are EV to survive Mystic Water Searching Strikes. In order to do that, you need to run like 2044, which is what I played. But some of them might also be EV'd for Terra Stella or Terra Water Searching Strikes. I think Alex Gomez, for example, had that, which is kind of crazy. In order to do that, you need to run, I think, 180 defense. This spread looks fake, but it actually isn't. Icy Wind is amazing, especially next to Landorus or next to Urshifu, because you can get the speed advantage. If there's an Ogerpon Halflame in front of you and you have Urshifu Chien Pao, you're like, that's not great. But suddenly you can click Icy Wind Searching Strikes, and from not having a great matchup into it, suddenly it's really, really good. Terra types are kind of wild. Ghost saw the most success in EUAC. Just being fake out immune is amazing. Also helps against Dragonite, which is also kind of a pain for Raging Bull balance teams. But Grass can also be used to survive Searching Strikes without investing so much into defense. Also, you survive like Thunderclap plus Grassy Glide, Thunderclap plus Aqua Jet, or like Rillaboom plus Halflane, Glide plus Glide. Like all the priorities pretty much are resisted by Grass, so that's pretty cool. And it obviously also helps against Amoonguss to some extent. Sludge Bomb will obliterate you, but you can get around Rage Powder, which can help against like Landorus, Amoonguss boards. And the third Terra type that is used is Terra Ice, because that way you can still get the one-hit KO on Amoonguss, which you otherwise won't get. Getting the damage boost against stuff like Tinglu can also be pretty valuable. And funnily enough, you also boost the Icy Wind from 55 power to 60. So Terra Ice Icy Wind is kind of funny. And Ice Shard is another option that people used instead of Icy Wind. That helps a lot against Tornadus, against Landorus as well, especially if the Landorus is in Tailwind. Or if there's a Flutter Mane, which is low, they could click T-Wave against your Sucker Punch, right? But if you got Ice Shard, you have like the safe priority, which always works. So this is why Ice Shard saw some play as well. If you want Ice Shard, it's on the Icy Wind slot, and then you can drop a Sucker Punch as well for like Crunch or Throat Chop, which helps against stuff like Goldango or Terra Ghost Instant and the likes. So yeah. And then the 8th Pokemon on both balance, and with that the last Pokemon, is Landorus. And Landorus is insane because it also is a great piece in the mirror, because it obviously has a good matchup into opposing Raging Bolt. It's good into opposing Landorus. Like I've kept saying that Landorus is the best Landorus check, which is just silly. Terra Poison and Terra Steel are both used. Terra Poison really helps to get like KOs against Rillaboom, and also defensively you still get like the Fairy resistance, and you also still resist like the grass moves from Rillaboom, which is cool because if you click Substitute, suddenly Grassy Glide does not break the sub, which is great. Yeah, spread wise, most of the Landorus I saw are modest and rather offensive. Like this is a very common spread. 116 with 132 is a common spread if you want to have more bulk. If you want to run a timid nature, I do not recommend running this much bulk with a timid nature, because then your damage output is really lacking a little bit. With that, I would rather play something like this instead. Interesting enough, we don't see Sensia Storm at all on Landorus if paired with these Pokemon, because it makes a lot of sense. With double Fake Out, Substitute is just so much more threatening, and it just gives you more leverage in a lot of matchups, while Sensia Storm really helps for more offensive paced teams. But since this is more of a balanced approach, I do like Substitute a little more. And then, I also still wanted to talk about the variations. Life Orb Raging Bolt saw some play as well, because if you have Booster Energy Flutter main, you cannot run Booster Bolt, and people still decided to run a more offensive Bolt instead of just pivoting to leftovers, which I really like. I mean, Justin Karras used this Bolt to top cut Toronto Regionals with. I think Marcus Harman got a top 8 finish in Birmingham with it. So Life Orb Bolt is just really, really strong, because if you run leftovers, suddenly you don't get the chaos. Like, you know that many Urshifu are Evade to survive Thunderclap from Raging Bolt. That way you can still get the KO. Terror Bug is a really cool Terror type to help against Landorus. Before, a lot of those players played Terror Electric, but then the Landorus matchup was really bad. And Terror Bug can help out with that. Also, you resist fighting, so you can use it if you want against something like Urshifu. So yeah, Life Orb Raging Bolt hits like a truck, and with Icy Wind support it's actually really strong. If you want Life Orb, I also do recommend playing a really fast and strong Raging Bolt, and just don't opt into bulk that much, because that way you outspeed Adamant Power after an Icy Wind, you outspeed some Urshifu, because some Urshifu just play like 120-ish speed, some Iron Crown are around that speed range, so outspeeding all of those is pretty cool. And also with Thunder Wave, you outspeed something like Gouging Fire and the likes after you paralyzed them. So yeah, this Raging Bolt only really works with Flutter main, obviously. Otherwise, you should just run Booster Energy on your Bolt, but I still wanted to give this a shout. And then there's Urshifu with Mystic Water, just an incredible Pokemon with double Fake Out. Scarf also sees some play, but not really anymore. Let's be honest. Scarf is probably the worst out of the three, out of like Sash, Mystic Water, and obviously Scarf. But I still wanted to mention it. And Terra Fire is sometimes played instead of Terra Steel, because Terra Steel is just better against like PsySpam, against Regidrago, like against Dragon Energy. But Fire helps against Ogapon Halflame. If you run Raging Bolt with like leftovers, you are not that worried about Halflame, so then it makes more sense to run Steel. But Fire also saw some play, so I really wanted to mention it. Regardless, if you run a Mystic Water Urshifu spread, most of the time you really want to survive a leftovers Thunderclap or Assault Vest Thunderclap from Raging Bolt, and still like get the OKO on Ogapon Halflame with Surging Strikes if they have no bulk. Same goes for the OKO against Champa if they have no bulk, which is like this spread or something similar to this 196 Adamant. And then you invest a lot into special defense in order to survive what I just said. And then you can also invest into speed to outspeed either Life Orb Raging Bolt or Timid Pelipper. Also it's 128, so you can run 129. I also know that some players run 133 to get the jump on something like Modest Regidrago or Modest Adamant Dragonite. That's also reasonable. In the end, it's up to you how bulky and how strong your Urshifu should be. But yeah, this is all to say about Raging Bolt battles. In general, if you have any questions about any archetype, feel free to ask. Also, if you just have something to add, just add it. I don't mind that at all. Next up, we've got Ursaluna and Friends. And Ursaluna and Friends, Ursaluna is something I called a fraud a couple of times, but it performed quite well. It kinda underperformed in EUIC, but it should still be on everyone's radar. The most common set is Terra Ghost 3 attacks. We've seen Sword Stance being used, especially if you are pair Ursaluna with Cresselia. Sword Stance is an option instead of Headlong Rush. And Terra types, we've seen Dragon and Fairy as well. To be fair, Terra Fairy is only used on the Marco Fiero and Dill Yeoman's team, the one with Citrus Berry, Farigiraf, Ogapon, Cornerstone, and Torkoal and stuff. But Terra Fairy actually helps out a ton against Regidrago, as well as being neutral against stuff like Urshifu and Chien-Pao, while Terra Ghost, for example, or Terra Dragon is not that great into Chien-Pao, for example. Ursaluna, you can invest Ursaluna in a lot of ways. You can, if you don't have a Tailwind mode, you can actually run min speed. And the cool part is if you pair it with Amoonguss, if you have an own Amoonguss, and your Amoonguss is neutral speed, your Ursaluna is slower. Which is cool, because if you set up Trick Room and you have Ursaluna and Amoonguss on the board, you can Facade Ogapon and then Spore the other slot before Ogapon can follow me and redirect the Spore, right? So that's a cool tech you can use. If you have Tailwind, you should ask yourself, what do you want to outspeed? There are a lot of speed tiers. 75 is for Urshifu. 77 is for Modest Landorus. 82 is for Jolly Urshifu. 85 is for Timid Chiyu and Timid Landorus. There's also 90, which is for Ogapon and Tornadus. There's also 94, which is for Adamant Chien-Pao and Modest Fluttermane. And then there's 95, which is for Warring Moon. Then there's 96, which is for Dondozo. So, and then there's max speed if you just want to creep on opposing Ursaluna, I guess. So, yeah, a lot of wiggle room you have there. Taking wise, I would at least want 156 Adamant. I know some players play 172 to a 200 attack. That's also fine. I know, for example, Jorge Tabuyo played something like this, which is understandable. As I said, max speed makes sense. But you can also run more bulk instead. Something like this works. So you've got a lot of wiggle room with Ursaluna. Cresselia is one of the partners for Ursaluna because it has Levitate, so you can EQ next to it. Psychic, Icy Wind, Lunar Blessing, Trick Room. Icy Wind is cool because it gives you another mode and you don't always have to rely on Trick Room. And sometimes you also see Ice Beam, so that Cresselia also deals some damage, especially helpful against Landorus. Also, like with Earthquake, having Ice Beam is really cool because what's the counterplay against Earthquake? Flying types, grass types, which are both weak to Ice Beam. Moonblast is used occasionally just to have a strong move into Urshifu Single Strike and Chien-Pao, which would otherwise sit in front of your crest, and at least you damage Incineroar a little bit, I guess. Helping Hand if you just want to do more damage with your Ursaluna. And Terra Fairy or Terra Steel. Terra Steel is cool because you hard wall Landorus, and it's also good against like opposing Ursaluna because Facade does less. But Facade still does enough damage that you would not win the 1v1 if both your Pokemon are full life, at least as far as I know. But yeah, Terra Fairy just helps against dark type moves more, also boosts up the Moonblast if you play Moonblast, and is also just generally an incredible defensive type. And with Terra Fairy, if you run into a 1v1 against Booster Energy Raging Bolt, like endgame, your Cresselia would win on timer. So that's also pretty cool. Safety Goggles, Lunar Blessing is a no-brainer against Amoonguss teams. But to be fair, a lot of Amoonguss teams also have knockoff Incineroar as a partner. So once your Cresselia is knocked, it's not that great anymore. But yeah, other than that, Mental Herb is really, really cool because I told you, Taunt Fluttermane, Taunt Incineroar, Taunt Thundurus, Taunt Tornadus, so many Taunt users. It's insane how many Taunt users there are. Taunt Urshifu as well. So Mental Herb is really good one-time counterplay against that. And it also helps against Anchor from Whimsicott, which is pretty neat. So yeah, overall, you've got a lot of options on Cresselia. How should you EV Cresselia? in the end, it's up to you. If you want Ice Beam, you could technically consider running a more offensive approach, but most Cresselia right now are probably like calm with a lot of defense investment, something like this, I would say. So yeah, you can also run some speed if you want Icy Wind to outspeed like Rillaboom, so that if you have Ursaluna Cresselia on the board, you can double tap Rillaboom with Icy Wind Facade, so you can run like 112 speed or something as well. In the end, once again, up to you. In the end, everything is up to you, but I just want to make some suggestions. The other Trick Room setter that sees play next to Ursaluna is Porygon 2 with Terra Flying, because you really want to use Terra Flying so that you can use Earthquake next to your main Trick Room setter. And Terra Blast, as I just said, what wants to switch into Earthquake? Grass types, Bug types as well, so you have perfect synergy there. With Terra Blast, Ice Beam, Earthquake, you hit everything for neutral, so that's pretty cool. There's not a lot of variation in the moveset or the item or the Terra, oh surprise, but you can be a little creative with the defensive spread you're running. Speed-wise, you also can be creative. You can run like 75 to at least outspeed Urshifu and Tailwind. I know some people run Brave on their Porygon 2, which not Brave, Quiet, which I still do not understand. I would always run Modest and say that if you get an attack boost, you still have a special Terra Blast, because the main reasoning for the physical Terra Blast back then was that you deal decent damage against Flutter Mane. But now that all Flutter Manes basically have a lot of physical defense investment, it makes not that much sense to have physical Terra Blast. So I would rather play a 0 IV Porygon 2 at this point and just say, yeah, you keep special Terra Blasts. At least from my perspective and from my experience. You can run a very offensive Porygon 2 if you really want to do a lot of damage with it. Or what I also saw some people do is invest a lot into special defense, which helps against the Iron Crown Regidrago matchup if you struggle with that. Some people also play Calm Nature to always survive, like Helping Hand, Draco Meteor from Life of Regidrago and stuff. And it generally helps against most physical special attackers. Or you run a mixed defensive spread to also help with physical attackers. Mainly Ogapon Halflane with Ivy Cudgel, as well as like Surging Strikes from Urshifu. So you should run some defense at least. But 36 Modest is like my usual Porygon 2 spread, and then just a lot of bulk. But yeah, in the end, just make sure that your Porygon 2 runs a Modest nature and not quiet. I'm running some propaganda right now, I know. We've got Incineroar as well, and interesting enough, most of the time Incineroar on those teams is Assault Vest instead of like Citrus Berry or Goggles, and I think I do understand why. Because Assault Vest Incineroar is incredible next to Porygon 2, because you have both Flare Blitz and Knockoff available, which is really good, because then you have another offensive piece, because Cresselia and Porygon 2 sometimes are not as offensive as you wish for, and with Assault Vest you can also play an Adamant Nature, because you are allowed to do that. If you run something like a Citrus Berry, you still have to invest more into bulk, but with Assault Vest you just generally have the extra bulk, right? And also you can run a lot of speed on this Incineroar, since, as I said, you don't have to invest that much into bulk, which means you can go for Fake Out Trick Room, and then you have a slow U-turn, which means a safe U-turn into your Ursaluna, which is cool. And also with Assault Vest, you just have more longevity, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Assault Vest Tower Grass Instant. Usually 36 adamant is enough. I know that a lot of Japanese players played a very fast Instant War, like 108 speed, something around those lines. But you can also run 90 speed. I explained earlier what the speed tiers are for. You're often paired with tornadoes as well. So something like this is not a bad spread at all. And this is one I recommend as a starting point. You can always adjust to whatever you like. But this has been proven to be good, at least on my end. Then we've got Urshifu Rapid Strike. And Urshifu Rapid Strike, we saw Focus Sash mainly on just one team. It was Matty Morgan's top 4 Birmingham team. Other than that, we have mainly seen Terra Steel, Mystic Water. You really want Terra Steel to have a better matchup into Regidrago and PsySpam. And Terra Steel is just the best defensive Terra type because suddenly you resist Psychic, you resist Flying, you resist Dragon, you resist Fairy. You just flip the matchup chart, which is insane. And yeah, with a Mystic Water set, you want to run some bulk. A lot of players in EUIC also decided to play a Life Orb set. So I can imagine that they played max speed and close to max attack. Something like this maybe. Jolly Nature is also not unheard of because that way you outspeed Iron Bundle in Tailwind, you outspeed Fast Fluttermane in Tailwind, you outspeed Landwiz as I said before, so this is also a possible spread. And yeah, in the end, I do think that the Life Orb hype will fall off in the near future, but I do understand why people used it. Then we've got Among Us, and Among Us has like a lot of roles on this team. It is a Trick Room. Monvet is very annoying in Trick Room because of Spore. It can enable Trick Room because of Rage Powder, and it can also just heal your partners if you decide to run Pollen Puff. And the most common set is Sludge Bomb, Spore, Rage Powder, Protect. In this format, you really don't want to miss out on Sludge Bomb, which is why if people run Pollen Puff, they do not drop Sludge Bomb. They would rather drop Protect instead of Sludge Bomb, and then run Sludge Bomb, Pollen Puff, Spore, Rage Powder. But I do think that Protect is one of the best moves on Among Us. Generally, on Redirection Pokemon, having both Follow Me and Protect is just amazing and has a lot of value. But I do understand why some people want to run Pollen Puff because you have an Assault Vest Incineroar, you have Porygon 2, you have Ursaluna. Having Pollen Puff for all of those, or like a bulky Urshifu, is really, really cool. And yeah, Rocky Helmet or Mental Herb or Citrus Berry, that's always the question. And Rocky Helmet I like the most because with Pokemon like Ursaluna, Incineroar, Porygon 2, it already sounds pretty weak against Urshifu, right? And if you don't have Rocky Helmet somewhere, they just click Surging Strikes for free. With Rocky Helmet, they have to be more cautious to just click Surging Strikes relentlessly, and that's why I do think that Helmet is the best item. Mental Herb, as I said, some teams, their counterplay is just taunt against Among Us, and if you have Mental Herb, their whole counterplay is not there. So Mental Herb is definitely not a bad choice. And Citrus Berry is, in my opinion, one of the best items on Among Us, but not on this team, which is why I haven't highlighted it. But some people have used Citrus Berry Among Us, like I think Yuto Kimura, who also finished 17th in EUIC with an 11-2 record, played Citrus Berry, so yeah, a lot of wiggle room there. Terra Fairy, Terra Water, or Terra Fire. Terra Fire gives you more room against Half Flame. Terra Water helps against Chiempo stuff, or like Torn Urshifu, and Terra Fairy just gives you more options against Regidrago. And also, I really do recommend watching the side stream match between Jorge Tabuyo and I think it was Kiwamu Endo, Alcana. I think the Terra Fairy Among Us just solo carried him because Alcana always used Raging Bolt, and this Among Us just just stood there and just spent rage power, and the raging ball was just crying. So I do see the use of Terra Fairy a lot against raging ball balance as well. Next up, oh my bad. Next up we've got Tornadus, and Tornadus usually it's like the Terran setter with Bleak Storm and Protect most of the time. Skyplate is really cool because that way you deal a lot of damage. Terra Steel helps against ice moves, helps against Dragon Energy once again, helps against Specs, Flutter Mane and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Alternative moves are Icy Wind and Sunny Day. Obviously, if you're on Sunny Day, it's over Rain Dance. We've seen that on the team. Like I know that Matty Morgan used that in online tournaments before, but Eric Stewart was the first one who top cut with it, I think, in Toronto. Had a top 8-1 with Sunny Day Tornadus next to Choice Specs Flutter Mane. That was pretty cool. It just depends on your team if you want to run Sunny Day or Rain Dance. Or if you are Kotsuki Day, for example, who top cut EOIC, he decided to drop both Sunny Day and Rain Dance for Icy Wind. And Icy Wind is also a really good move, especially paired with a very fast Ursaluna, because suddenly in a Tailwind Mirror you have the advantage, or just generally you can click Icy Wind, and then your Ursaluna is faster than Urshifu, for example, which is really, really cool. Not Jolly Urshifu, but Adamant Urshifu. So yeah, and Skyplate and Covered Cloak have both been used. I think Covered Cloak is just a no-brainer on Tornadus, having like nothing can stop you from setting up Tailwind. I guess like Terra Normal sort of win Extreme Speed can, but even that is not necessarily an OKO, and you've got Terra Steel for that as well. So Covered Cloak is nice, but Skyplate ensures that the Tornadus also is an offensive threat. So yeah, speaking of which, investment wise, you have a lot of options. Like I think 164 defense is needed, or like not needed, but can be used to survive Surging Strikes, Terra Water Surging Strikes from Urshifu. But I also do think you want to be faster than Regidrago, so or like also faster than Landorus, so you could use something like this as well. I know some people are also on timid Tornadus with like max speed to outspeed Ogapon and stuff. So that can be used, and then you are more offensive and not as defensive. But yeah, whatever you like the most. I do think that like my favorite spread would probably be 154 speed to outspeed Modest Landorus, as well as Flutter Mane. Max speed booster Flutter Mane hits 307 and you hit 308 in Tailwind. And then like usually I would say 36 Modest is enough. I heard, I don't know who told me that, I don't remember, but I heard that some players apparently played 196 Modest Tornadus, and that is a little insane to me, honestly. But if people did that, I would also not be surprised. Then we've got this Flutter Mane. This Flutter Mane was used by both Eric Rios and Matty Morgan in the past. Special attack boosting Flutter Mane just gives you a better matchup into PsySpam stuff and also into Regidrago in general. Because Regidrago is really a pain to deal with Ursaluna balance. And this is why this Flutter Mane can come into handy. I would always want 180 speed to outspeed Ogapon and Tornadus. And then the question is, what do you want to survive? Like this is one spread you can use, but you can also use a spread like this one, which survives Icy Crash from Chien-Pao. You might say, wait, it's random now that since the special attack and speed are the same stat, it's random which boost you get. No, it's not. You always get a special attack boost with this spread. So yeah, both works, and I do think that this Flutter Mane is heavily underused. I also really like the Terra Water because that, as I said, it is designed to beat Regidrago teams, and Regidrago teams have both Iron Crown and Rapid Strike. So Terra Water helps out against that, and also, funnily enough, if you intimidate an Incineroar, and you click Substitute and you are Terra Water, they cannot break your Substitute cards. Flare Blitz resisted and -1 does not break. Knockoff, since you have no item, doesn't break. So that's another like rare occasion where Terra Water can come in clutch. And then I already told you that there was this one Marco Fierro team with Ursaluna, with Terra Fairy. That one featured choice specs Fluttermane, or like a lot of teams actually featured choice specs Fluttermane. The one from Eric Stewart, for example, also had choice specs Fluttermane, and I do think that those Fluttermane are very strong because they get a special take boost in the sun. So this is probably the best spread for that. And you get some insane knockouts. Terra Fairy Moonblast, OKO on instant. Power Gem, OKO on half flame. Terra Fairy Helping Hand Dazzling Gleam also gets to some ridiculous levels. So yeah, I mean, it's your choice specs Fluttermane. What do you expect? It's really, really good, and I also do really recommend running a spread like this one as well. And to ensure the photosynthesis boost, whereas with Torkoal, like you have either Trick Room, where Torkoal does a lot of damage, or you don't have Trick Room, where Fluttermane can run over your opponent's team, so that's pretty cool. That's why we have Helping Hand, to have something outside of Trick Room, and then inside of Trick Room you just spam Eruption, and if you have some damage you still have Heat Wave as an option. Spread-wise, Torkoal, I think it's... wow, very creative, right? I would always recommend running Min Speed Torkoal, even if you have it on a Tailwind team, because opposing Torkoal can be stressful if they set up Trick Room, right? Or if you set up Trick Room for them, you at least want to speed tie opposing Torkoal. And then we've got two Farigiraf sets. This Farigiraf set is used if paired with Tornadus and with Tailwind. It is a more offensive Farigiraf, and I like it a lot. I think the spread I always recommended is like something around those lines. Maybe it was something like this. I like 90 speed just to outspeed Tornadus and Ogerpon and Tailwind. You need that much special attack because that way you OKO Amoonguss with +1 Psychic, and you have enough special defense to take like an Earth Power from Landorus. I think you also take a Specs Make It Rain from Goldango, and you still have enough defense to survive Terra Water Surging Strikes. So yeah, I do think that this Farigiraf is really strong. It's usually paired with Ogerpon Halflame as well, and Ogerpon Halflame Farigiraf is just so threatening because what stops Farigiraf? Steel types. Oh, never mind. What stops Halflame? I guess Incineroar is good into both, but once your Throat Spray is activated, Incineroar is not as threatening and you can abuse it quite easily. So yeah, overall a really, really good set. And then there's the Terra Flying set, which can be used next to Ursaluna when you just spam Earthquake Hyper Voice, which is really cool. And also Terra Flying has some other nice interactions. It helps a ton against Landorus. It's the best defensive type against Landorus, together with Bug, I would say. And it also helps against Rillaboom, which is kind of cool. So yeah, Terra Flying, really, really, really cool tech. Also, if you have Sun active and you click Terra Flying, you basically resist all moves from Rapid Strike as well, which is a nice fun fact. With Citrus Berry, I still recommend running a Modest Nature to do some damage, or like a Quiet Nature. I think they were quiet because there was no Tailwind mode, but I do recommend running 76, and then you can invest a lot into Bulk. So that you maybe even survive Dragon Energy from Regidrago. So you should still run some defense, to be fair, to get some like survivals, like maybe even sort of Ruin Mystic Water Surging Strikes, but in order to do that you need to invest a little more into defense and less into special defense. But in the end, it also once again comes down to what you struggle with. This Farigiraf is paired with Ogerpon Cornerstone, and Ogerpon Cornerstone can punish Incineroar. It is also really good at like punishing Terra Fires, which can be used against Torkoal, against Fluttermane. So that's pretty cool. Power Whip is usually used instead of Woodhammer or Hornleech to get the OKO on Urshifu without KOing yourself, because if you have Sturdy and you click Woodhammer, you break your own Sturdy. That's not great. And investment-wise, you can run a lot of things. You can actually invest yourself to survive Mystic Water Surging Strikes. I think it was 84 defense. I'm not entirely sure. And then I do recommend running Jolly Nature, because Ogre Cornerstone is really the one Ogre that wants to outspeed other Ogre or at least speed type them, because it friends an OKO on half flame, and it friends a lot of damage on Wellspring, or if a Wellspring towers, it also friends an OKO on Wellspring. So yeah, this is why I always recommend Jolly Max Speed Cornerstone. Same kind of goes for half flame. Funnily enough, those half flame players always play Woodhammer instead of Power Whip. I guess with half flame it's fine to take some recoil, but yeah. I also saw a lot of different approaches on like half flame investments. Some really want to survive a Terror Water Surging Strikes, and then they invest a lot into bulk, and then they don't have a lot left that they can put into attack. Like something like this works. Or you just play a very offensive Ogre spread, and like one similar to the one I featured earlier. So this one also works. You really want your Ogre to work both as a huge damage dealer as well as a redirection Pokemon with Follow Me. And then we've got Wellspring, which also saw some play on Ursaluna teams. I remember that Eric Rios used Ogre Wellspring quite a lot, and there were also some other occasions where people used Ogre Wellspring, because it's just such a good redirection Pokemon. And as I said before, Ursaluna teams tend to struggle with Surging Strike spam from Urshifu, and guess what the best Pokemon against Surging Strike spam is? It's Gastrodon. But Ogre Wellspring is also just the better Pokemon. So yeah, Hornleash, Woodhammer both saw play. Woodhammer is cool for another interaction, by the way. Same goes with the Woodhammer from Half Flame. You can set up Trick Room and KO yourself, and that way you can guarantee a switch into one of your Trick Room sweepers. So that's another reasoning for Woodhammer on Ogre. But yeah, investment wise, I do think you want to be faster than Ursaluna. It depends on the rest of the team. If you have P2 and maybe something like a Tornadus, you don't need to run a faster Ogre, and you can rather opt into like maybe Adamant 76 and maybe just speed creep on Modest Landorus and then play the rest into bulk. But that's once again like depending on what 6 you are running. But yeah, now let's take a look at PsySpam. PsySpam means Indeedee, obviously. PsySpam would not work without the Psychic terrain that Indeedee provides. And Indeedee is a great Pokemon in itself, not just providing Psychic terrain, but also Follow Me and Helping Hand support. It can set up Trick Room, and Rocky Helmet is a great item on it. But let's see what else is played. So we've seen Safety Goggles, we've seen Mental Herb. Mental Herb mainly on hard Trick Room teams, because those otherwise would struggle to get the Trick Room up reliably. And Safety Goggles is just a great tool against Among Us. If you are not Ogre because you are Grass type, running Safety Goggles on your Follow Me Pokemon makes a lot of sense. Obviously helps against Smeargle as well, and that's really cool. And yeah, we have a ton of options. Terra type wise, it's mainly Fairy. Dragon has seen some play. Dragon helps mainly against Ogre Half Flame, which is great, right? Because suddenly you survive a Terrafire Ivy Cutchel, which is cool. It also helps against Surging Strikes from Urshifu. But the drawback of Terra Dragon is that you are always weak to Chiempao. So if your opponent leads Chiempao, you already play some kind of 50-50, because they can always OKO you if they have Crunch or Throat Chop. If they have just Sucker Punch as their Dark type move, you just don't Terra and you're fine, right? But Terra Fairy also has a nice implication that you can hard wall Raging Bolt. Otherwise, Raging Bolt can still spam Dragon Pulse. And obviously, with Psychic Terrain teams, it rarely comes down to timer or like to stally situations like these. But it's an option, right? And move-wise, yeah, Healing Wish and Imprison are both things that are used on hard Trick Room, I think. A Healing Wish for sure, to just get a free switch into something in your bag. And Imprison, Trick Room in Prison is actually really valuable on Regidrago teams because a way to beat those teams that have Tornadoes, Iron Crown, Regidrago is to set up Trick Room. But indeed, he can deny that, which is pretty good because that just means that you can buy another extra turn with your team, and that's really, really good. If you ask me which attacking move is better, if it's Psychic or Dazzling Gleam, I like Psychic more, but Dazzling Gleam has the advantage to break sashes from single strike as well as from POW, and also just dealing more spread damage generally, while Psychic only is a single target move. But it's actually quite strong because Indeedee still has a 95 special attack. In Psychic Terrain, boosted Psychics do hurt at least a little bit. And spread-wise, most people want max bolt because your physical defense isn't that good and you want to maximize your odds to survive, like Turfire, Ivy Cushion from very low invested Ogrepawn Halflame, as well as some other stuff as well, like Surging Strikes and Icicle Crash from Power. You mainly get hit by physical moves, so it makes sense to invest into physical defense. Next up, we've got Iron Crown, one of the stars of PsySpam because it has Expanding Force. There are two different sets mainly, or like three different sets. This is the standard move set with a special attack boost. You can run two kind of spreads. I know, for example, Jonathan Marston used something like this. This is really good to outspeed Urshifu and Regidrago and all the likes. And not many people will expect it, but Iron Crown has actually a decent defensive typing with Psychic Steel. You resist pretty much all spread moves, which is really cool because you resist Make It Rain, Dragon Energy, Dazzling Gleam, Bleak Windstorm, and if paired with Double Follow Me, it's actually really, really good to resist all those moves. And then having some extra bulk can be nice as well, which is why I in the past recommended a max HP Iron Crown instead, because the bulk with 100 defense and 108 special defense is really, really good, and this is something you should definitely keep in mind, that Iron Crown can both be very fast, or very fast is maybe a little over exaggerated, but it can be fast or it can be quite bulky. And then there's the third version, which is mainly used on Call Mind sets, and it's a speed booster Iron Crown. In order to get a speed boost, you also have to intentionally lower your special attack EVs so that you can get this speed boost. As you can see here, 165. The maximum special attack you can have is 164. I'm not the biggest fan of speed booster. Speed booster also replaces Terra Blast with Call Mind and plays Terra Dragon most of the time. But I can see the advantage to just get some surprise KOs maybe because of that speed boost. Suddenly you are faster than Chiempo, you are faster than Choice Scarf Urshifu, you are faster than like Gouging Fire and stuff. So it's not super terrible, but I'm just not a big fan. And then Zachary Reed last weekend played something that was not on anyone's radar. It was Call Mind Dragon Crown, which was an indication for speed boost, but no. Instead, he played a special attack boosting variant. So yeah, Call Mind Terra Dragon does not necessarily mean that you need to be a speed booster set. So yeah, Iron Crown just a really, really good Pokemon, hits so much for so much damage, and I really do think that in the remaining of Regulation F, you should definitely have an Iron Crown matchup. I didn't have one in UIC and I paid the price, but it's really, really strong. The problem with Iron Crown mainly is that it cannot really hit Incineroar or Tinglu, and this is why Urshifu is one of the best partners. Urshifu removes the fire types that are somewhat annoying, it removes the dark types that are annoying, so perfect offensive synergy. And Choice Scarf Urshifu is, I mean, it's Choice Scarf Urshifu, what should I tell you? Especially in Psychic Terrain, not being susceptible to Fake Out, Grassy Glare, and Thunderclap is really cool. And spread-wise, I always recommend to survive a Thunderclap from 100 Modest Raging Bolt. which is 6124. That way you also survive an Earth Power from Landorus, which can actually make a huge difference. I always really liked Rock Tomb on Urshifu instead of Aqua Jet, because on a Psychic Terrain team, yes, it is obviously some counter synergy, but in some situations, Aqua Jet can still save you the day. But Rock Tomb is also really good, especially with like a slow, bulky crown. You can Rock Tomb stuff before it moves. For example, in front of you, you have Half Flame plus I don't know what, and you have Shifu Iron Crown, and Searching Strikes does not KO Half Flame, but Rock Tomb Expanding Force does. So that's a pretty good example. Obviously, it's just a niche move, which you almost never click, but yeah, still you have to figure out which is the best fourth move, Aqua Jet or Rock Tomb. And the other set that sees some play is Terra Stellar with Taunt and Focus Sash. This is what Zachary Reed played. This is what Jonathan Marsden played. And it makes a lot of sense to also play Stellar instead of Water, because they don't have Aqua Jet. They are running Taunt, as I just said. And then having the option to chunk stuff like Raging Bolt with Stellar Close Combat or Rillaboom is out of value. Also, like Terra Grass Fluttermane could survive a close combat, but not a Terra Stellar close combat, stuff like that. Against Wellspring, it's really good. So, yeah, I really do like Stellar Shifu if you run Surging Strikes Close Combat Taunt. And then you obviously run a max attack, max speed, and then just once again the decision, do you want to run Adamant or do you want to run Jolly? Zachary, for example, ran Adamant, Jonathan ran Jolly, so yeah, in the end, up to you once again. And then we've got Ogerpon Halflame. Ogerpon Halflame is another Pokemon that synergizes really well with Iron Crown, because Iron Crown also struggles against stuff like King Gambit, and Ogerpon can punish that. Ogerpon provides some really good offensive coverage, but also the defensive profile is pretty nice, because Urshifu is weak to Electric and Grass, and Ogerpon resists both of that. And yeah, you can run a very lame, or like not lame, but very standard spread of like max speed, max attack. I do recommend running Jolly. In the past, I also recommended running like 140 attack, 140 speed, but nowadays you really have to be faster than Landorus, because back then Landorus was not very common, and right now it's like top 5, I would say. So yeah, you can either run that, or you invest yourself for the Surging Strikes again, for the Terra Surging Strikes, which can actually change the outcome of a game. So once again, keep in mind that there's always a price to pay. Either you don't do that much damage or you don't survive that much. It also once again comes down to your playstyle. We've got Tornadus as well, and you might be surprised to see Terra Steel being used on Focus Sash Tornadus, but it's very smart actually, because with Psychic Terrain you want to touch the ground so that you are immune to something like Fake Out, Extreme Speed, which is why Terra Flying is not really good. So then you might ask, wait, why not Terra Ghost? Terra Steel has some implications that shift like the mirror, for example, because you can take a Tachyon Cutter better. You survive stuff like Moonblast Make It Rain from Whimsicott Goldango, or like Bleakwind Storm Make It Rain from Tornadus Goldango. You do survive Expanding Forces a little better, or like I don't know, Farigraph plus Ursaluna Blood Moon clicking Hyper Voice, you do survive that. So Terra Steel, even though you have Focus Sash, is the best defensive Terra type still. So yeah, Rain Dance boosts Urshifu's damage and also removes the fire weakness from Iron Crown, which is cool. And if you're running Terra Water, Terra Blast Crown, it also boosts up that move. And yeah, Terran Protect. I think the moveset is pretty standard. I know that some people drop Protect for Scary Face, which is an interesting tag. It helps in Tailwind Mirror, obviously, but it also helps against Trick Room, because even in Psychic Terrain, you can side Scary Face yourself. So if you have a rather slow Iron Crown or slow Regidrago, against Ursaluna teams, for example, if they go for Trick Room, the Ursaluna still has like 80, 90 speed, right? And if your Regidrago or Iron Crown has 120, let's say that, you can Scary Face, then you have 60 and suddenly you move first. So that's really, really cool. And Cloak is sometimes used, especially on the variants with Focus Sash Urshifu, and Terra Dragon can be used to take Surging Strikes better. That's also not a bad tag per se. If you run Sash Tornadoes, I do recommend running, I think it was 12 defense and 28 HP. You should check that calc yourself. But Surging Strikes from Urshifu, you really want to improve the roll. You don't have to go for a 100% survival. If it's like 95% or 90, it's good enough, but it makes a lot of sense to EV for that. You are only missing out on a little bit of special attack, but that's fine. If you're running Cloak Tornadoes, I featured a Cloak Tornado spread earlier, or like it was Skyplate, but Cloak spreads are pretty similar to Skyplate. Regidrago, Dragonfang and Life Orb are both very strong. Terra Steel, Terra Fairy. Terra Fairy can be used to have an amazing matchup into Raging Bolt. You both go Terra Fairy, but you just KO the other slot with Dragon Energy and win the 1v1 in the end with Psychic Terrain up. Terra Steel is obviously more consistent because you resist the ice moves and you resist fairy moves from Fluttermane, for example, which means even though Regidrago is in front of Fluttermane, which sounds bad, you still resist all the moves Fluttermane has, not Shadow Ball, but like from Speed Booster Fluttermane, and you can target the other slot, right? So that's not bad. And if you run Dragonfang, I recommend running a slightly bulkier spread. I do not recommend investing into HP because the base HP is already quite high. Instead, you rather invest into the defenses and play something like this. And I featured Regidrago spreads earlier on my Twitter. So if you also want to get free team pastes and just free information about what's good in the metagame, follow me on Twitter. And on Twitch, I will also test out a lot of different teams. So the good self-plug, perfect timing. But yeah, Regidrago is really strong because with Ogre-Pon, Half-Flame, and Iron Crown, you have two Pokemon that punish like the common fairy types, like Fluttermane, Terra Fairy, stuff like Amoonguss, or I guess Raging Bolt. So yeah, Regidrago can bait out those Fairy Terras, and then your Iron Crown will have a great time. So that's pretty cool. And if you run a Life Orb set, you should run Timid to just outspeed everything between between 120 and 145 pretty much. And then you just play max speed Timid Regidrago. That's what I recommend at least. But just if you run Life Orb. Dragonfang with Timid, no shot. Dragonfang needs Modest, trust me. Fluttermane also sees some play on those Iron Crown teams with choice specs. I do understand it. Fluttermane can punish dark types. To be fair, the most used dark type is Incineroar, so that does not really count. And I think there's also like King Gambit, so that one also doesn't really count. And Shampoo doesn't have the greatest bulk, but in theory, you punish dark types, which is cool. And you also have another very strong special attacker. You have another Pokemon that can force a Terra on Raging Bolt, for example, on opposing Regidrago and stuff like that. So that's really cute. If you run choice specs and you don't aim to get a special attack boost in the sun, I recommend running 191 speed at least, because with 191 you are faster than Dondozo, and that one is quite big. If you want to survive the Surging Strikes from Shifu, you need to run something like this, but then you don't have any special attack, which sometimes is okay, but I feel like you want to get some KOs at least. So Instead, you can run something like this. You can obviously also speed creep with Fluttermane speed creep and play 192, 193, but I would not play max speed Fluttermane because then you're really lacking damage and bulk, but that's just me. Choice Band Landorus also saw some play, mainly on Iron Crown teams with Call Mind, both special attack booster and speed booster, because Intimidate is just so valuable for Call Mind Iron Crown. I think that's just super obvious, which is why Incineroar also saw some play. But yeah, Landorus first. Choice Band Landorus, I mean, you paired with Tornadus, so you have a very good Earthquake Bleak Windstorm mode as well. And with U-Turn, you can do some crazy stuff like lead Lando Crown. If you have special attack booster Crown, you U-Turn into Indeedee and click Expanding Force. Your opponent cannot react to that, because if they switch into Rillaboom, they switch into Rillaboom first, and then you U-Turn, then you override the terrain, and they just explode. So that's really nasty. I do recommend running a Jolly Nature on Choice Band Landorus, because you really want to outspeed stuff like Urshifu, opposing Landorus, or like Landorus I, rather, with a Modest Nature, and stuff like that. So I do like Jolly Landorus quite a ton, and then you can decide for yourself how much bulk you want. I remember that in the past, I think I played, it was 4-4-44. And then something like this. Yeah, I do think Choice Band Landorus should run Jolly Nature. That's what I want to say. Incineroar with Assault Vest is another Pokemon that can provide Intimidate support for Core Mind Crown, as well as like providing Fake Out support, which means you can lead Instant Crown, go for Fake Out Core Mind. Obviously, there's like some kind of anti-synergy that you have Fake Out and Psychic Terrain, but you are in control of that. Obviously, you should not play the way where you like lead Indeedee and then your plan is to click Fake Out turn 3. Then you just messed up yourself. But since you're in control of the Psychic Terrain, you can choose when to go for it. And Incineroar, once again, can punish steel types pretty well, and as I said before, Intimidate support is just really, really great. Yeah, spread wise, depends on what's on your team, but I really do like Adamant Instant if you run Assault Vest. With I think 92 special defense, you always survive an Earth Power from Landorus, and with 100 defense, you might survive 2 Sacred Swords from Champo after Intimidate. So something like this would work. If you have Tailwind, once again, and 90 speed is not a bad option either. Ogerpon Wellspring is something that's used on Speed Booster Iron Crown teams instead of Half Flame, which is a little surprising, but I get it because those teams do not have Terra Water Terra Blast on Iron Crown. So if you run Half Flame, especially Incineroar plus Half Flame, is not great, and you want something to punish Incineroar, and this is where Wellspring comes in. Wellspring also is just the better redirector for Iron Crown, because Iron Crown usually struggles against Landorus as well, and Wellspring has a slightly better matchup into Landorus than Half-Flame does. It obviously depends. Like, Half-Flame can outspeed and click Terra Ivy Catcher and just OKO, but Wellspring has the better defensive profile, right? Because you resist Earth Power, and you can also get the special defense boost by Terra Sterilizing. So, yeah, it's a give and take. And spread-wise, as I said, I would make it faster than Landorus personally, which means 188 Jolly at least, and then play some bulk. I think 28 attack is the attack stat, so that you KO pretty much every Landorus with Ivy Cudgel, and then you can put the remaining EVs into defense. I think I played something like this in the past, because this also survives stuff like Terra Stellar Close Combat from Shifu most of the time, Terra Normal Extreme Speed with Sword of Ruin from Dragonite most of the time, so yeah, this seems about right. Landorus is another Pokemon that can punish the Pokemon that are usually good into Iron Crown. Once again, Incineroar. I keep repeating myself, but it makes just so much sense. Landorus can also not just punish those Pokemon, it's just an own mode in itself, because with double redirection, dealing with Landorus is quite hard. I like Terra Steel a lot because of the defensive profile. As I said, Steel types resist all spread moves, and if you have double redirection, why not run Terra Steel Landorus, right? Spread wise, I featured a Landorus before. If you opt for game plans that involve a lot of Tailwind and Trick Room with Indeedee and Tornadus, you can actually play a rather slow Landorus and invest heavily into bulk and catch your opponent off guard by doing that. Something like this, for example, could work because suddenly Ogre Wellspring, for example, Ivy Cutter is not always a KO, and just a lot of calcs will get messed up, and that's really, really cool. And then last but not least, I've got the 3 psychic types that are used on hard Trick Room. Hatterene with Life Orb, with Magic Bounce, one of the most reliable Trick Room setters you have. Since Parting Shot is a little annoying because if Incineroar clicks Parting Shot into Hatterene, your Hatterene switches out instead. But other than that, Hatterene cannot get taunted, cannot get spored, at least as long as, I guess, Weezing is not on the field. But yeah, Hatterene is a great Pokemon on hard Trick Room because it also provides very strong expanding forces, and Dazzling Gleam can punish the dark types that would be immune to expanding force. Spread, I know, really boring, but min speed is pretty needed because min speed Amoonguss has 31 and you want to outspeed Amoonguss in Trick Room, so you have to run 30. Then we've got Gallade, and Gallade is actually a Pokemon that is really interesting because against like Ursaluna stuff, it hits Ursaluna, Porygon 2, Instant, and Amoonguss, all 4 of those for super effective damage. And with Clear Amulet, it also doesn't care about Intimidate. With Tara Grass, it can get around Spore and Rage Powder. So Gallade is kind of an ultimate Pokemon for that. And like if there's Tornadus on the team, you have White Guard to stop Bleak Windstorm, and you have Tara Grass to get around Surging Strikes from Urshifu as well. It all sounds cool on paper, but it's just a theory thing, I feel like. Other than that, Gallade, like the stats are a little bad, but it's still a good Trick Room setup because there are not a lot of Pokemon that can learn White Guard and Trick Room, and Gallade is one of them, which is super good. And usually hard Trick Room always struggles with spread moves, right? And Gallade can be a stop against that, so I do recommend trying out Gallade if you want to run hard Trick Room, and once again, just max HP, max attack, and probably min speed. You can also decide to be a little faster, like say faster than Incineroar, but since your game plan is to be under Trick Room the entire time, it's better to be slower than it. But yeah, Farigiraf is another Pokemon that is used on hard Trick Room. We've seen a lot of different sets. We've seen Safety Goggles, we've seen Throat Spray, and now the most popular one is Psychic Seed. And I do understand it because, as I just said, especially Dragon Energy Make It Rain is rough, but Farigiraf does survive Dragon Energy Make It Rain, especially if you go Terra Fire. You can survive it a little better and then set up Trick Room that way. So I do understand the use of this Farigiraf in certain matchups. I also think that Nasty Plot can be quite cool because in some situations maybe your Torkoal is just threatening a double knockout, so what can your Farigiraf do? It can just click Nasty Plot, right? So yeah, I do think that Farigiraf, especially against Rillaboom teams, it's always annoying to play this terrain war with Indeedee against Rillaboom, but Farigiraf is a secondary Pokemon that is that can protect your entire team from priorities, and since Fake Out is one of the main ways to deal with hard Trick Room, it's just a phenomenal piece for that archetype. And then we've got Urshifu, and Urshifu, if you have Trick Room up, you want to use your turns, right? And I think Urshifu is just unfair, no matter what, and with Choice Band it deals so much damage. It also gives you a great Dozo matchup, and Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, Poison Jab is my most common set. I do think that Terra Dark Wicked Blow is just a nuke button, and I really like it. I used Choice Band Urshifu in Regulation G to win a regional with, and now it's back in business. And yeah, as I said, if your opponent wants to stall Trick Room, they cannot do that in front of Urshifu, at least not easily. Another Terra type you can use is Grass, because Grass has some defensive applications as well. And also, since Amoonguss is a good, not a good stop, but a good Pokemon rather than against hard Trick Room, having Terra Grass to get around Spore and Rage Powder once again is not bad, especially because you survive a Starch Bomb regardless, since you will invest into HP instead of speed. There's also like a Focus Sash Urshifu set, also on Hard Trick Room I saw, but it's not very common. But yeah, Hard Trick Room or PsySpam in general has a lot of different pieces, and you can mash most of them together. Obviously, you should not, or you cannot play like Half-Flame and Wellspring, or you should not play Incineroar and Lando and stuff like that, but you get the idea, right? Next up, we've got Dondozo, and Dondozo is annoying. I thought Dondozo would not be that good in Regulation F, and I still do believe that it's not great, but it top cut EUIC twice. Like, there were 2 teams in top cut featuring Dondozo. It finished second in Birmingham, and it finished top 8 in Toronto. So you still need a Dondozo matchup, so let's break it down. Shoutouts to Squaw. We've got Rocky Helmet, Cover Cloak, and Clear Amulet as the main 3 items. Clear Amulet is the least used, but you can use it if you want to run Unaware instead of Oblivious. There's a lot of setup actually. There's Sword Stance Ogapon, or like Terrestrialized Ogapon also gets an attack boost. There's Core Mind Raging Bolt. There is now I think there's Nasty Plot Farigiraf. There is Nasty Plot Goldango occasionally. So Unaware can be used, but Oblivious is just great because you are immune to Intimidate. And this helps when Incineroar has a usage over 50%. Terra Grass is just the best Terra type. You flip the matchup chart against Grass and Electric, and also amazing type into Amoonguss. Yeah, Rocky Helmet is really good because a way to stop Dondozo usually was to just spam Searching Strikes, like Fake Out, Searching Strikes, switch into Willa, Fake Out, Searching Strikes, switch into Instant, Fake Out, Searching Strikes. You cannot do that. It also just breaks the sash from like single strike, so they cannot get 2 Wicked Blows off. Instead, they only get 1 off, and stuff like that. And yeah, I also really like this. I don't like Dondozo generally, but I really like the idea to play attack booster order up, because in some formats we've also seen defense booster Tatsugiri. I think it was called Tatsugiri Droopy with order, but the attack booster can just start snowballing a little easier. Rock Slide is a peak cringe. If you want to run Rock Slide instead of Earthquake, you can do that. It did not have the greatest success. I will still mention it because people play it, but you should not play it. I think pretty much every Dondozo is running a Jolly nature, because the problem with Adamant, as you can see, you are slower than so much. Like, I showed you so many Pokemon that hit 180 speed. Then Olviogapon, then there is Tornadus, then there is Adamant Champer, Modest Fluttermane, Whimsicott. Like, there's just so much stuff where it makes sense to run a Jolly Dozo. Technically, you would only need 94 to outspeed Adamant Champer, but at this point you can run 95 to maybe also outspeed some Ursaluna. And then you really want to invest a lot into attack so that you also get the knockouts. Something like 188 is used, I think. And then you can invest a bit into special defense to also take some hits. Dozo obviously is paired with Tatsu. I will first talk about the Choice Scarf set, because the Choice Scarf set doesn't see that much play anymore, but it still sees some play. And it's really good because it just gives you another mode. It's cool to just lead with Choice Scarf Tatsu, and you can also leave Dondozo behind, because it's still like a Choice Scarf Icy Wind Pokemon, and 120 special attack, those Dracos still hurt. Some people opt for Sleep Talk instead of something like Dragon Pulse, because a common counterplay against Dondozo is to grab a knockout and click Spore with Amoonguss on the same turn, so that Tatsugiri goes to sleep. And having Sleep Talk available to counteract that a little bit is nice, because Tatsugiri doesn't really have the coverage moves anyways. So Sleep Talk is definitely not a terrible option. But the more common sets are Sash and Safety Goggles. You can also run Taunt instead of Helping Hand. Like both sets, like Goggles and Sash, they both run Draco, Muddy Water, Protect, and then the last move is either Helping Hand or Taunt. I don't want to say again how good Taunt is. I will just keep it at that. And Helping Hand, I don't have to tell you how good Helping Hand is. So yeah. If you want Sash, Terra Stellar is an option to boost your Draco or Muddy Water once. But with Goggles, with Terra Steel Goggles, in an endgame where your opponent only has Amoonguss left, you just win the 1v1. You technically don't even need the Goggles for that. It's just Terra Steel alone that wins you that, but also just resisting Moonblast, resisting E-Speed. I mean, I've also said it multiple times now that Steel types are really good in this format. Fluttermane is one of the very common partners for Dozo, because it just provides extra modes with Booster Energy, Icy Wind. Terra Fairy is just really cool to nuke stuff like Raging Bolt, like Terra Fairy Moonblast is really good, and helps against Single Strike, which is one of the main threats for Dondozo. Taunt is really good, once again, to shut down Amoonguss. Like, you lead Flutter plus X, you taunt the Amoonguss, and then later on, Dozo doesn't have to worry that much anymore. But we've also seen Misty Terrain on Choice, not on Choice Base, but on Citrus Berry Fluttermane. Citrus Berry Misty Terrain Fluttermane did top cut EOIC. So, yeah, definitely an option you also have. And Choice Specs Fluttermane, like if you want Scarf Chiyu and Specs Fluttermane, it just reminds me of like Regulation C and D, like the early Scarlet Violet days. You can also just spam Dazzling Gleam, Heatwave and stuff, so that's also an option. Not very common. The most common one is still the Boost Energy one, but I still wanted to highlight it. Yeah, how do you EV Fluttermane? I would say that you want to survive Searching Strikes on this one. And then the question is, how fast do you want to be? I do think that maybe you want to outspeed Warring Moon, which means you need to run a 189 at least, because Warring Moon hits 188. So you could run something like this, for example. You can also play more special attack if you want to, but once again, you either do not survive with Searching Strikes, or you would be slower than Warring Moon, so it's a give and take. Chiyu, my bad. Chiyu, Focus Sash Chiyu is just really, really good with Dondozo, because it just KOs the grass types, which are annoying for Dozo. And I do think Timid Nature is correct on Chiyu to just get the jump on Landorus, because Overheat one-hit KOs Landorus, which is once again really, really good. And Chiyu Fluttermane, I can sing a song about Chiyu Fluttermane, so I would rather not to, but yeah, it's just really good. If you want Choice Scarf, instead of Protect, you can run either Snarl or even Ruination to have more versatility, but Focus Set is just overall more consistent. Surprisingly enough, a lot of the Dondozo teams have Raging Bolt, and I'm not entirely sure why. Because obviously it's some Urshifu hate, but you've already got Rocky Arm with Dondozo. I guess it's a Pokemon that has stats, and like with Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, Raging Bolt, you have like this triple special attacker core, which can work quite well. And maybe it also just patches up some specific matchups that I'm just not really aware of right now. But yeah, Draco Meteor and Dragon Pulse are both used. I really recommend Draco because on a team like this one, Raging Bolt will not stay on the field for long. So having this damage button is better in my opinion. We've both seen Thunderbolt and Snarl. I do think that Snarl is slightly better, especially if you run Oblivious though. So if you run Underwear, you should probably run Thunderbolt. But yeah, it's just a common Raging Bolt set. And with Terra Fairy, once again, you can flip the matchup chart. And on a Soul West Raging Bolt, I recommend running at least 100 Modest. And I do think you should outspeed Landorus after an Icy Wind for sure, so that you can click Icy Wind Draco into it, and then you can also invest a lot into defense if you want. Like, this is possible. You can also run more special attack if you want, but I'm not a big fan of a lot of special attack invested Raging Bolt with Draco and Snarl and Electro Web, because Snarl doesn't do that much damage anyway. Same goes for Electro Web and Draco Meteor. Once you clicked it, your Raging Bolt, even if you have more special attack investment, it doesn't really matter. So I do think this is better. We've also got Dragonite. We've seen both Inner Focus and Multiscale. It once again just depends. Multiscale is better for an end game or for early game as well, but Inner Focus, just spamming E-Speed over and over and over and over again, obviously also a really big value. Iron Head is actually used on every Dragonite, surprisingly. I guess it's just the one-hit KO button against Fluttermane, because Fluttermane is actually annoying for Dozo teams. Some Fluttermane also runs Sunny Day, so that's even worse. But Moonblast against Dragonite, Moonblast against Bolt, it's faster than Chi-Yu, it has Icy Wind. It's just, it's really bad, so having Iron Head for Fluttermane is not a terrible option. We've also got Earthquake. Earthquake really cool because one of the main Pokemon that switch into Dragonite are Goldengo. Is immune to E-Speed, resists Outrage, but Earthquake does a ton. And with Glimmora, if you run a Terra Grass Glimmora, you can self-proc Toxic Debris and set up Toxic Spikes. And that's really good against teams that do not have a Poison type. And let me tell you, there are not a lot of valuable Poison types. There's like Amoonguss, and that's it. I guess like Glimmora, Weezing, but Glimmora and Weezing are mainly used on Dondozo anyways. So yeah, having Earthquake as an option to self-proc Toxic Debris is pretty sweet. And then you have a decision to make. Do you want to run Outrage, which is just a delete button but can be random, or do you want to run Aerial Ace, which is slightly more consistent but also pretty weak. But it can be used against foes like Rillaboom and Ogerpon. But yeah, once again, I would say that's just whatever you prefer, and this is the Dragonite spread I recommend. If you want to know what this exact spread does, check out my Twitter. Weezing Galar is another partner for Dozo, which can set up Toxic Spikes. Like, Toxic Spikes plus Dondozo is just so good. Like, it can just auto-win you certain matchups. Poison Gas is also good to just poison the lead, because if you set up Toxic Spikes, that's great for the back Pokemon, but you still want to do something against, like, the lead. And then the main attacking move is actually Gunk Shot. It's not Strange Steam or Sludge Bomb, because Gunk Shot is a huge damage button against Fluttermane. Against Assault Vest Rillaboom, Gunk Shot is way better. Against Wellspring, Gunk Shot is way better. And as you can see, Weezing actually has more attack than special attack. That is something that not a lot of players I know, I assume, maybe everybody knew, but yeah, I think not everybody knew, because Weezing usually runs special moves because those are more consistent, But Gang Shot is just a really, really strong move, and it makes a lot of sense. Terra Flying, really cool next to Dragonite that you can click Earthquake, and it's just the best Terra type into Landorus, because the only move Landorus has is Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb without Sheer Force doesn't do that much. I have Levitate in here, but obviously it's neutralizing gas. Nobody wants Levitate Weezing. Just because getting rid of abilities is... You just play your own game, and that's really, really nice. Citrus Berry, by the way, just for longevity, so that you can maybe in some games get a Poison Gas off and a T-Spike, and then you are ready to go. Glimmora, with Power Herb, it can just once again get an early knockout, and with Dondozo teams, most often you try to get an early knockout, then you combine, get 1 or 2 more knockouts, and then you win the end game. And Meteor Beam Glimmora is a Pokemon that can achieve just that. Sludge Bomb as a secondary stab option, and Earth Power for Steel types like Goldengo, or a lot of Terra Steel Pokemon we just talked about, right? Grass is just the best defensive Terra because you get rid of the ground weakness, you get rid of the water weakness, and as I said, Self EQ can be used. And some people want Mortal Spin instead of Earth Power, just because poisoning your foe with Dondozo is just so good. It's pretty similar to Poison Gas, but it cannot miss. So Poison Gas only has 90% accuracy, something you always have to keep in mind. So hitting both is only like 81%. So if you miss one, it happens. It happens. But yeah, Glimmora, really, really strong Pokemon, and I'm not surprised that it performs decently well, because it also punishes the grass types once again that are annoying for Dondozo. And it's mainly paired with Roaring Moon, because Roaring Moon can set up the Tailwind for this Glimmora. It can set up Tailwind for Dondozo as well, because as I just said, Flutter Mane outspeeds Dondozo, but with Tailwind you can suddenly outspeed pretty much everything with +2 speed in Tailwind. That's really good, and obviously Tailwind is nice for Glimmora. Spread-wise on Glimmora, by the way, you have tons of options. I like Modest Glimmora, with a lot of special attack to just get the KOs, but I also do understand if people opt for Timid Glimmora, because that way you would outspeed something like Urshifu and the likes. So that's also an option, and then also want some bulk as well. Roaring Moon, I already just said, Tailwind, amazing tool. With Boost Energy, you are faster than almost everything. The only Pokemon that can outspeed you are Flutter Mane with a lot of speed investment, as well as Iron Bundle, but those are not very common. I guess Flutter Mane is more common now, but you can just click Terra Flying against those Flutter Mane and just still go for Meteor Beam, and Acrobatics will do a ton, because I feel like with on a team like this, you actually invest a lot into attack while still getting a speed boost on this Roaring Moon, and not invest that much into bulk. I will talk about bulky Roaring Moon later on, but I feel like with Acrobatics you really want to get the knockouts on Ogerpon, on Willaboom, so I feel like that makes more sense. And then there's 2 more partners on Dondozo. Articuno Ninetales, just that makes me really angry, but once again it makes sense, because Articuno and Ninetales struggle against fire types, Dondozo eats them up, pun intended, and Articuno can remove the pesky dragon and grass types. And if your opponent leads Articuno plus Dondozo, covering for both switch into Tatsu, attack with Dozo, or switch into Ninetales plus Blizzard can be really, really hard. And it's just Choice Specs Articuno with Snow Cloak. It's just maximum annoying, and also Ninetales provides Aurora Wave support, and let me tell you, Dondozo behind screens is a menace. If you want to run Choice Specs Articuno, I do recommend running, I don't quite remember the spread, but I think it was something like this. You can also run a little faster Articuno to get the jump on every Willaboom, and maybe on some other stuff as well, but you want your Articuno to stay on the field and just spam Blizzard together with Ninetales. You have so many freeze chances, it's low-key annoying. Moonblast is a good move to hit Urshifu mainly, or get some special take drops if you want to. Fish for those as well. And Aurora Veil and Helping Hand. Helping Hand mainly used, like, obviously not for Dondozo, because you rather switch out Ninetales to Tatsugiri to do more damage, but Helping Hand next to Articuno can be devastating. Also, Helping Hand next to Roaring Moon is really good, Helping Hand next to Gamora, or Helping Hand next to Dragonite if you pair, like, Articuno Ninetales with, like, Dragonite and Chiyu or something. That would work. And Terra Fire, just the best defensive Terra to resist fire and steel. And yeah, I do think that Ninetales has a good place on Dondozo teams. Unfortunately, I had to play against one myself in EUAC, so I know what I'm talking about. I would make it faster than Landwidth for sure, and then invest a lot into bulk. You can also invest. I think the regional winning one looked like this. 140 and then 60 special attack, something around those lines. So you have a lot of options to invest Ninetales. I would always make sure to survive certain Surging Strikes calcs from Urshifu, but if you have Helmet Dondozo, it's also not as important, but you also really want to set up Aurora Veil, and some Urshifu teams you still don't want to bring Dondozo, so just keep that in mind, that even though you have a Pokemon that seems very good into something else, you still have to respect that Pokemon regardless. Because if, let's say, the entire team hates on Dondozo completely, then you don't bring Dondozo and you still want your Ninetales to survive stuff. But that's just an example. I just wanted to talk to you in general, that only because one of your Pokemon is good into something else of the team, it does not mean that you have a free matchup. Like, if you have Wellspring, it does not mean that your team is suddenly safe from Surging Strikes, right? Just keep that in mind if you build a team, because I know many players forget that and think, oh, I'm fine, and then they face it and they are like, oh, I am not fine. So yeah, just keep it in mind that it's always about the team structure, not about like 1 versus 1 matchups. Anyways, we still have some more Pokemon to talk about. I will take a little break and then I will talk to you about Gouging Fire physical offense, and we also still have some niche stuff, so don't go anywhere. Alrighty, let's talk about Gouging Fire stuff. And Gouging Fire is a really interesting Pokemon because with a Fire Dragon typing, it actually walls quite a lot of things. For example, Half Flame cannot touch it at all. Incineroar cannot touch it at all. I guess Incineroar doesn't need to touch it, instead it just intimidates it and cycles parting shots. But Rillaboom cannot touch it at all. And there are way more Pokemon, especially with Terra Fairy. With the use of Terra, you can just spam Howl in front of Raging Bolt as well, which is cool. And overall, I mean, we've talked about it, Dragon types with Terra Fairy are pretty good. So yeah, Gouging Fire enables a whole archetype that features a lot of physical attackers, because with Howl, you boost your own attack and your partner's attack as well. So that's really, really strong, because if you pair it with Pokemon that can punish, Incineroar or Arcanine Hisui, the only 2 relevant Intimidate users, I don't count you, Landwidth T, then you have a really strong team off the board. How should you invest Gouging Fire though? I think it makes sense to run just max speed Gouging Fire. You can obviously consider dropping some speed, but in the mirror it is cool to at least speed high Gouging Fire. And if you drop speed, how much do you want to drop? This is for like max speed choice of Urshifu, but you also have to keep in mind like Icy Wind interactions. You really want to outspeed Modest Landorus after you get Icy Winded by a Flutter main, which means you would need 155. You might say, wait, no, 154 is enough. But because of how rounding works in Pokemon, 154 with a booster energy and -1 speed ends up on 153, which means you would speed high Landorus. And at this point, if you run 155, you are so close on running like max that you could actually just run max. And then bulk-wise, obviously you can play as much attack as possible to still get a speed boost, and then play something like this. But Gouging Fire is not here to deal damage. Most of the time you want to stand. I wanted to say stay and stand, but you want to stay on the field for a long time. Just click Breaking Swipe, click Howl, disrupt your opponent. So it makes way more sense. Also, I didn't mean to do 157, I meant to do 156, but that doesn't matter because like there's the spread where you play 146. This is enough, I think, to KO Amoonguss with Sword of Ruin Heat Crash, as well as like Fluttermane with +1 Heat Crash, even if they are like max defense. This is a spread I ran in the past. You can also run 68 attack and 180 HP to be slightly bulkier. Or I saw that the Italians on the Thunderous I team, they played this spread, which also works. You don't get the KOs, but instead your Gouging Fire can take 2 Surging Strikes from Urshifu, which is really, really nice. So in the end, just decide which attack stat you want to hit, and then you put the rest into the bulk. So yeah. Also, I get asked quite a lot, is Heat Crash better than Flare Blitz? In this format, I would say yes. There are not a lot of heavy targets where you actually need Flare Blitz for. And especially, as I just said, Gouging Fire should stay on the field for long. So with Flare Blitz, you kind of counteract that. So you should definitely play Heat Crash. And also, Protect is better than Burning Bulwark, honestly. Burning Bulwark has some niche implications against like Extreme Speed, Dragonite, and Rillaboom, I guess. But most of the physical attackers actually don't deal contact. For example, Ogerpon Wellspring, Ivy Cudgel is not a contact move. And Chien-Pao most of the time runs Icicle Crash. And Incineroar cannot get burned, Halfling cannot get burned. There are not a lot of good Burning Bulwark targets, since Urshifu also goes through Protect. And Burning Bulwark, for those who didn't know, does not protect you against status moves. So if you click Burning Bulwark, Taunt will still work, Spore will still work, Parting Shot will still work. And those 3 alone already are big reasons why you should run Protect instead of Burning Bulwark, even though I like the animation. Best partner for Gouging is Chien-Pao. Obviously, with Sword of Ruin, it makes a lot of sense, and also it's a good Howl target. And yeah, most of the time you will see a 3 attack set with Protect. Sucker Punch is pretty good, especially if you have Dragonite with Extreme Speed on the team, because main way to deal with Dragonite is Terra Ghost, and or like Ghost types in general, and Sucker Punch can punish both pretty nicely. Terra Ghost is good to get around Fake Out at Extreme Speed, but Stellar can give you the KOs you need. Some teams run Ice Spinner over Icicle Crash. Crash makes more sense if you have something like Rillaboom on the team, but Spinner is nice to get rid of opposing terrain, especially Psychic terrain. If you have a lot of priorities, Spinner makes more sense. Obviously, the drawback is that you lose your Sash against Rocky Helmet and Spiky Shield, but on the other hand, you have a fully accurate move, which is also an advantage. I also, once again, recommend putting some bulk on Chien-Pao to survive Mystic Water Surging Strikes, because Mystic Water Urshifu is usually a really good pick into Gouging Fire Chien-Pao teams. So if Chien-Pao can take one of those, it can swing the momentum in your favor. The third partner, or like the second partner, I guess, for Gouging is Dragonite. Scale Shot Dragonite is incredible. With multi-scale, it's really hard to get rid of, especially with Breaking Swipe or Eerie Impulse support. Terra Steel flips my matchup chart, you know how it works, and also boosts your Iron Head. Iron Head, really good move against Raging Bolt, because with Scale Shot, you force a Terra, and if a Terra, you have like Terra Steel Iron Head. You hit Fluttermane pretty well, and you have a strong priority in Extreme Speed. Since you're running Scale Shot, I also recommend running a lot of speed. You really want to outspeed Life or Bolt, and maybe Pelipper. And then you could also just run Max at that point. I do know that this spread does not look fancy, but it's strong. And I also do know that the Italians used this spread, if you're curious. So you can also try this one out. Hits the bump in attack, and has some special defense to take some moves better, like Sludge Bomb from Landwitz or Dragon Pulse from Raging Bolt. So Loaded Dice Dragonite is overall, as I already mentioned, incredible, but only used on this one particular team, which is also interesting to some extent. Then on priority spam with Gouging Fire, you can use Inner Focus Dragonite with Choice Band. It's just your Terra normal E-Speed bot. Some players used Aqua Jet, but some players used Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is a good stat move, but doesn't hit that much for notable damage. The only Pokemon I can think of are like opposing Dragon types. But Outrage can be used to nuke an Amoonguss or a Wellspring or something like that as well. So that's why I lean more towards Outrage instead of Dragon Claw. But I also see reasons why you can play Dragon Claw. And Aqua Jet can be also used. I think Joe UX9 used Aqua Jet. There is like a specific reason for it, because it helps against like Terra Ghost Sash Tianpao. You can break the Sash with Aqua Jet, or you can pick up low targets like Fluttermane. For example, Fluttermane takes a Sucker Punch from Tianpao, and later on you can finish it with Aqua Jet, or you can double tap it with Aqua Jet Sucker Punch, stuff like that. It's not terrible, but keep in mind that it's just a non-stab Aqua Jet, so it's not incredibly strong. And once again, I recommend the spread I made earlier today, which is this one with an Adamant Nature. Tinglu is another really good partner for this kind of structure, especially with Earthquake. You can use Earthquake next to Thunderous, you can Earthquake next to Orthworm, you can Earthquake next to Dragonite, and that's pretty cool. Terra Poison, Terra Blast is also really good, because that way you can punish Raging Bolt once again, as well as Rillaboom, Ogerpon Wellspring, Ogerpon Half-Flame, and all of those. Terra Poison in general is a really good defensive Terra type on Tinglu. Helps against fighting and fairy moves and grass moves and bug moves primarily, but your only weaknesses are ground and psychic. You are pretty good into psychic types before you Terra, and ground types you just don't use your Terra, and you have like some Pokemon that can punish ground types as well, like Dondozo, Dragonite, Chienpao, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, so it's still fine if you use the Terra Poison on Tinglu. Keep in mind that Tinglu is a pretty big Terra Hawk, which means it's a Pokemon that you Terra in a lot of matchups, because Dark Ground unfortunately is not the best typing defensively, but with the use of Terra, especially with a well-timed Terra, Tinglu can be a menace, especially with Howl or coaching boosts as well. Some people also decided to play Payback instead of Throat Chop. I'm not the biggest fan of that, because as far as I know, like Payback gets double power, so you have 100 base power if you move after the target. But if the target switches out, it's just a 50 base power move. So that's why I like Throat Chop more. Throat Chop also denies Parting Shot at Hyper Voice, which is kind of cute. And on the Tinglu, like this one, I really do recommend running an Adamant Nature with 76 at least. You can also run like 108, and then you just split between the defenses. I think the spread from the Italians was like 204 HP, 100 defense, and 84 special defense. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, I think they only played 76. Maybe it's something around those lines. In the end, make sure that you know the calcs you want to hit, like Surviving Mystic Water Surging Strikes, Terra Surging Strikes, Terra Stellar Icicle Crash, and stuff like that. Also on the special side, there are some things. Maybe you want to take I don't know, free earth power from Landorus or something. There's a lot of things you can do with Tinglu, defensively and offensively, which is pretty neat. There's also a Tinglu Gouging Fire team that plays a little differently. This Tinglu is mainly paired with Dondozo, with solo Dozo without Tatsugiri, and the idea behind it is that you can trap something with Sand Tomb and click Yawn, and there's pretty much no way to stop that, and both of those Pokemon are just so incredibly tanky that way will get this combination off. So you click Sand Tomb Yawn, when you click Protect, or you can click it, you don't have to, and when you do this with the other slot or you click Ruination, it's just really hard to deal with for some teams. And yeah, that's why you want Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb is just 85% accurate, so it misses more often than you like. Ruination also can miss, so it's not super reliable, but it can be very strong. Body Press is a really cool move to one-hit KO Chiempao, also having a strong move into stuff like Incineroar or Urshifu Single Strike can be pretty nice. I know some people also want Taunt on the Body Press slot, because with Tinglu and Dondozo, you are quite weak to Amoonguss. So if you can taunt Amoonguss, it can only click Sludge Bomb, and that's fine as long as it doesn't get the poison. But yeah, this Tinglu plays way differently. And since you don't really have strong attacking moves, you run an Impish Nature instead, and fully invest into bulk and play something like this. You still want to outspeed other Tinglu so that you can get a Ruination off before they move, or you click like Sand Tomb before they move, and that's pretty cool. Walkie Helmet is the item because Tinglu is prone to get hit by Ice Spinner, Surging Strikes, Horn Leech. So yeah, Walkie Helmet always has some value. Meanwhile, you put leftovers on the Dondozo. And I know what you're thinking. Why is there Fissure on the screen? Fissure is actually the most used fourth move on this Dondozo. Some people run Heavy Slam. Heavy Slam is cool to hit something like Fluttermane, which cannot be trapped by Sand Tomb because ghost types are immune to trapping. But Fissure can give you some big mileage against stuff like Amoonguss, Raging Bolt, just the Pokemon that are really hard to remove for Tinglu and Dondozo. Fissure can remove them in one hit. What should I tell you? And because of the Sand Tomb Beyond combination, you will be able to click multiple Fissures during one game. So it is a valid game plan, unfortunately. And then spread-wise, I know if you run Heavy Slam, you could consider running Adamant Nature with 76 to actually be an offensive threat as well. But with Fissure, I would rather recommend going more into the defense and then play a very similar spread to what the Tinglu is. Maybe something like this. It's like not as good as it used to be. I used it to get like a top 4 result in a very big online tournament, but I see some pretty big flaws, especially like Substitute Landorus is really annoying, and yeah, there is good counterplay against Tinglu Dozo because both Pokemon are weak to grass. So if you just would hammer the correct slot with your Ogerpon or Rillaboom, they are also in big trouble. So yeah, not the strongest combination, but still something you should keep in mind. And if those two are paired together, most of the time it's, as I said, with Chiempao and Gouging Fire. And one of the slots is, I think, Dragonite. Let me think about it. Yeah, I think it's Scale Shot Dragonite. And then the 6th slot can be pretty much whatever. There are two main staples, I would say. One is Choice Specs Goldango, because otherwise your team is Omega weak to Amoonguss, and Choice Specs Goldango is not great into Amoonguss, because if there's a Pokemon next to it that can threaten this Goldango, like a Landorus or an Incineroar or something like that, It can get pretty bad, but Goldango still is a solid pick. How fast and how strong should Goldango be with Choice Specs Terra Fairy? Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam in general is pretty good against most dark types. You can use it against Warring Moon, for example, and it's better than Terra Steel, because with Terra Steel, you are always weak to Earth Power, you're always weak to Ivy Cudgel and Flare Blitz, so Terra Fairy can help against that. And I do recommend playing some speed, not too much. Outspeeding Rillaboom is nice, but playing bulk is actually really important. I don't remember what I played, but there is a spread somewhere around that survives Sludge Bomb, I think, from Landorus, even if you go Terra Fairy. And you survive like Terra Surging Strikes. I think even sort of when Mystic Water Surging Strikes. I don't quite remember, but this is a really good spread. I played in the past, and not exactly this one, but pretty similar to that one. Ogapon Wellspring is another Pokemon you see on Gouging Fire teams, sometimes on Tinglu Dondozo as well. If it's on Tinglu Dondozo, it often carries Anchor, which is cool, because Anchor with trapping is devious. I mean, we've seen it in the past, Scream Tail plus Gothitelle, super scary. And same goes for Sand Tomb, Tinglu plus Anchor Ogapon, because if your opponent makes a bad play, suddenly they cannot get out of it anymore, and you just win. The grass type move is either Horn Leech or Wood Hammer. Wood Hammer is just for the damage, okay on Urshifu. Horn Leech is just more, not more consistent. Like, I would say Wood Hammer is more consistent, but Horn Leech gives you more sustain, I would say. And with Anchor, I also recommend running a faster Ogapon again, to also punish like Substitute from Landorus and stuff like that. So at least 169 speed. What you do with the rest is up to you, but Anchor Ogapon should run that. If you don't have Anchor, you could still run this speed stat, but it's not as necessary as before. Zapdos Galar is also a really interesting pick, especially with Clear Amulet Tinglu. It's another partner that Tinglu can Earthquake, and coaching with Tinglu, incredible. You can also coach Gouging Fire, you can coach Dragonite, and that's so good about physical offense spam. Zapdos is also a Pokemon known for punishing Intimidate, which is another benefit Zapdos has, while also like the problem with King Gambit is it's still weak to Incineroar. Zapdos isn't. Zapdos just clicks Close Combat and something dies. And you usually play Double Step and Coaching, and then the last move can be everything. I saw Knockoff, which is pretty good into Goldango. I saw U-Turn in the past. I saw Dual Wing Beat. I saw Tailwind being used. I saw Taunt as well. Even on Choice Scarf, I saw Coaching and Taunt. Yeah. Since most of the time you click Close Combat, Wave Bird, or Coaching anyway, so the fourth move is really something that should patch like certain matchups, certain Pokemon. So yeah, that makes sense. Some people also used Covered Cloak Zapdos in the past. I think it does not have a day two finish yet, but Covered Cloak Zapdos was used by Pranav Sharma in Toronto, for example. Really cool stream game, but Choice Scarf, just like with Choice Scarf plus Defiant, you can get out of control pretty easily, and that way your Zapdos always does something. I really do recommend running enough speed to outspeed Urshifu, and then the bump in attack, and then you can play some special defense in order to survive like Thunderclap. Even from Booster Energy Bolt, you survive Thunderclap if there's Tinglu on the field. So with Zapdos plus Tinglu, you can just kick Close Combat Earthquake without being worried by a Thunderclap KO. Same goes for like Moonblasts from Fluttermane, so running some special defense is nice. Also running some HP to increase the chance to survive Surging Strikes from Urshifu, it's also not bad. So yeah, Zapdos, interesting enough, does not seem to have the greatest results, even though I think that it is plenty strong. When there's a Zapdos, Sinistcha is not far away, because if you get 1 or 2 coachings of on the Tinglu, and then you also have Hospitality and Trick Room and Rage Powder support, oh man. I remember I played with Elizabeth team quite a bit, and it was incredibly strong. It fell off quite fast, but I still wanted to highlight that Sinistcha. Walkie Helmet is obviously really good to punish Surging Strike, since you're not running Walkie Helmet Tinglu, and Rage Powder and Trick Room and Machagosha are pretty much no-brainers. So is Terra Water. Like, resisting ice and fire moves is also pretty much a no-brainer. And Strength Sap is the most interesting part about that Sinistcha. Why is it Strength Sap? First, it is incredibly strong into Dondozo, better than like Live Dew or I don't know what. Curse is also not bad, but if you run Curse, you cannot run Rage Powder, Trick Room, Curse, Machagosha, and Strength Sap. You only have 4 moves. And if you run Curse, you have to run Strength Sap, so you have to drop either Rage Powder or Trick Room. So yeah. But Strength Sap, lowering the attack, is really good. And there's a cool side effect with Strength Sap, because you can click Strength Sap onto your Tinglu without lowering your attack and just getting a full recovery. I did that so often, and people were sometimes surprised that it's possible. Like, it's not a high IQ play, I would say. It's just a pretty cool option to have, the self-strength sap. So yeah, Sinistcha, really, really good supporting partner for mainly coaching plus Tinglu. It can also be used elsewhere, but so far nobody really has figured out Sinistcha. Then we've got King Gambit. King Gambit with AV is mainly used on priority spam with Dragonite. It is a really good Pokemon into Regidrago, Goldango, Iron Crown. Just keep in mind that there's also the option of Half Flame or Urshifu being in the bag. Terra Dark never really gets used. It's mainly Terra Flying. Forgot to change that. I featured the priority spam on my Twitter lately as well, and I decided to run this spread on King Gambit. Felt pretty good, and Terra Blast obviously hits Ogapon and Amoonguss, as well as like Urshifu, while the other 3 moves are fairly standard. I do know that Joe also played King Gambit on Gouging Fire, but he used a different set. He used Terra Dragon Dreadplate, also with Iron Head to punish fairy types, because in front of Gouging Fire and Xianpao, it's not unlikely that something like an Amoonguss goes Terra Fairy, right? So you have Iron Head to still punish it, but instead of Terra Blast, he's running Protect. And Terra Dragon is a pretty good Terra type on King Gambit, because King Gambit is a Pokemon that is susceptible to Terra Fire Ivy Cudgel from Half Flame. It is susceptible to Surging Strike from Urshifu, so Terra Dragon can help you against that. And yeah, King Gambit, still similar to Tinglu, is a Terra Hawk, but if used correctly, it can be pretty strong. Rillaboom, if paired with Gouging Fire, most often runs a Clear Amulet item to punish, not really punish Incineroar, but to ensure that you are not too weak to intimidate. Especially since you can click, like, you have a faster Fake Out, you click Fake Out Howl, and then you click Howl High Horsepower. That's like an interesting line. And Rillaboom, obviously, also good to set the grassy terrain against Indeedee based teams. And with Terra Fire, you can also win certain 1v1s against fire types, especially with high horsepower. Clear Amulet Rillaboom should also be pretty strong. That's why I'm running 196 usually, to also get an OKO against like Urshifu with Sword of Wool and Grassy Glide. And then I also want to run some speed to maybe get the jump on some Iron Crown. And I do think my spread looks like this. I think it's really good. If you want to know more about the spread, once again, I made a team report on exactly this Rillaboom set and spread. Grass types are really appreciated for Gouging Fire and Shampoo because they both struggle against water types. So you definitely take that. And when you're still struggling against fire types, right? You have high horsepower, but it's still not great. And this is where Urshifu comes in. Safety Goggles Urshifu is also really good into P2 Ursa. Searching Strikes, Close Combat. And then it's either Aqua Jet or Aqua Jet or Taunt. And Terra type, it's either Steel or Water. If it's Water, it's interesting enough, not Aqua Jet. It's either Water Taunt or it's Steel Aqua Jet, which is interesting. But on the priority spam team, it's Taunt with Terra Water. And I do get it. With priority spam, you want a Pokemon that can also OKO Chien-Pao. So having a stronger Searching Strikes definitely helps out with that. And the spread I made for this, I think, survived once again Thunderclap, Earth Power, and all that stuff. It was this spread. Feels pretty good, and I do think that Goggles Urshifu with Taunt is somewhat a cheat code into P2 Ursa. Speaking of cheat code into P2 Ursa, the Italians, Flavio Del Pidio and Francesco Piopero, used Aqua Jet instead of Taunt with Terra Steel. Wow, Terra Steel also really good into Porygon 2, really good into Amoonguss, obviously. And I saw the spread they used, and it was crazy. I will show you the spread. It is Max Spadef. Because with this, plus I don't remember what the other Pokemon was that they needed on the field. I think it was the Thunderous. Then Porygon 2 gets an attack boost instead of special attack boost, which turns the pretty rough matchup into a really good matchup as far as I know. So a really interesting spread, but I do understand where they are coming from. And they played with Thunderous, okay? And this Thunderous is really annoying to deal with because you have Pokemon on the team that punish what I want to say is that Thunder Wave does not work against electric and ground types. And the team they brought has a lot of Pokemon that punish those ground and electric types. Like you have Chien-Pao, you have Urshifu Rapid Strike, you have Dragonite against all those ground types. And against the electric types, you have Tinglu, you have the only electric type really running around is Raging Bolt. So you have Chien-Pao, you have Gouging Fire, you have Dragonite. So yeah, Thunder Wave, Thunderous is annoying. And Eerie Impulse also keeps Raging Bolt in check, which is pretty cool. And Taunt also, it's Taunt, okay? I will stop mentioning every Taunt user we see. And Wild Bolt Storm is actually also crazy. 20% chance to paralyze your opponent. So you can also get a para on Pokemon that are immune to Thunder Wave, like Incineroar, for example. And the spread they ran was, I think, max HP, 164 defense, and then obviously Calm Nature with 76, because, yeah, 10, with 76, 10 speed def, 9 def, yeah. With Thunderous Urshifu lead, Porygon 2 gets an attack boost, and then 12 speed and 4 special attack, I think. 12 speed to outspeed Adamant Dragonite and Modest Regidrago. So, yeah, Thunderous, a really smart pick. Arash Omati also originally used it to get top 4 in a Victory Road tournament with it. And I once again see why it is a good pick. And Terra Water helps against ice type moves as well as Surging Strikes once again. So yeah, Gouging Fire stuff. always tries to be innovative. Like most of those picks we haven't seen in Regulation F 1.0. So I'm curious to see what we are going to see next. I mean, we tried a lot of different physical attackers now. So what could be the next physical attacker on the list? Is it going to be Landorus T? Are we seeing some Landorus T gouging fire action? I don't know. But I'm really curious to see what gouging fire comps have to offer. And then we've got some niche stuff. I considered it niche stuff because I still wanted to include those, but I didn't want to give them an own category. There's obviously the team with Bold, Fluttermane, Impish Ogapon, the Arcanine Moltres Galar one. Moltres Galar only had like 3 or 4 day 2s so far, so that's why I'm hesitant to give Moltres too much credit. But there are 2 main sets that can be used. It's always choice specs, and Joao Felipe Leite played Terra Dark Pulse in EOIC to get a top 64 finish with, and Terra Steel Terra Blast was used by Dorian Kang to get a top 8 finish in Toronto with his Moltres, and then he dropped Dark Pulse instead of like he played Terra Blast instead of Dark Pulse, because obviously Fiery Wave is the most broken move on Moltres, Air Slash as a flying step, and Snarl. Choice Spec Snarl is also pretty nice against like special attackers. Spread wise, you can cook a little bit. I don't remember how I read Specs Moltres back in the day. It might have been, was it this strong? You also want to play some speed, to outspeed certain stuff. Maybe it was something around those lines. I have to double check. But Moltres is a Pokemon that can stay around for a long time, especially with Follow Me, with Thunder Wave from Fluttermane, with Intimidate from Arcanine. When you just spam Fiery Wave until you win, really, really strong pick. Then we've got Arcanine, and Arcanine most of the time just runs these 4 moves with Choice Band. Terra Grass or Terra Ghost both saw some play, and very, very rarely you also see Clear Amulet protect Arcanine instead of Head Smash, but it's really weak and I don't recommend it, so Choice Band Arcanine is the way to go. And you can play multiple, you can play it in multiple ways. You can play it Adamant, so that you deal the most damage possible, and then you still have like some room for bulk. I think I played or I featured something like Max Speed, something like this probably works. Or if you want to run Jolly, which is totally understandable, because once again, Modest Landorus, Adamant Urshifu, there are a lot of Pokemon, Timid Regidrago, so maybe Jolly is actually better in the current meta game. Then you can play Jolly as well. And I do think that Arcanine had its time. It's somewhat inconsistent, like all those moves are kind of rough, like Rock Slide can miss, Head Smash can miss, Flare Blitz gives you recoil, but if positioned correctly, Arcanine can be really strong. Once again, pair it with Thunder Wave Fluttermane and then just spam Thunder Wave Rock Slide and you will win eventually. Another duo that had a top 4 finish in the regional and another top cut in Birmingham is Grimmsnarl plus Okidogi. Grimmsnarl, we've seen it time to time again. Thunder Wave screens. We all know what Grimmsnarl does. Usually set up screens and die, but it can also provide more support with Spirit Break by lowering special attack from the opponent. And yeah, Prankster screens is pretty good. I mean, we've also saw Klefki do pretty well in Regulation H, and Grimmsnarl also won regionals in Scarlet and Violet. Hi. But I'm personally a Grimmsnarl hater, but I do understand why it has like a niche in the format, because there are not a lot of T-Wave immunities, and the T-Wave immunities there are, they all don't want to play against light screen like Landorus or Raging Bull, for example. And Okidogi with Assault Vest is pretty cool. Guard Dog, obviously, to punish Incineroar. It's immune to Intimidate and also punishes it, which is nice. And with this much attack, Gunk Shot will actually hurt quite a ton. Drain Punch is good for sustain. Upper Hand is really cool because you are quite fast, so you can move before the fake out from Incin, before the fake out from Rilla. Not every time, some Rillas might be faster, but if your Okidogi is faster, you always play this weird mind game. Is he fake outing? Also against like Thunderclap, Aquajet, you can protect your opponent with from priorities by just clicking upper hand. Sometimes it's just free to click upper hand, and if it fails, it's just no big drawback. But sometimes you also just play 50-50s with upper hand, and that's somewhat annoying. High horsepower also sees some play because that way you can hit poison types as well as like Terror Poison. You can hit Raging Bolt for more damage, and it's overall also a somewhat consistent move. Knockoff can be used as well. Like High horsepower also really strong move into Goldango, but knockoff can be used to hit ghost types because otherwise Gunk Shot is resisted. Drain Punch and Upper Hand don't have any effect, so knockoff can be used as well. And I saw some people running Ice Punch, which is just attack against Landorus. I guess it also works against Dragonite. So if you want to run Ice Punch, you mainly drop High horsepower because Upper Hand is just too good. Terra Water is the obvious choice because behind screens there's one thing that is still annoying, and it's Surging Strikes. So resisting Surging Strikes is pretty cool, and it's better than Terra Grass because in my opinion it's better against Landorus because otherwise you are weak to Sludge Bomb. It's also better against it's better than Dragon because it helps more against Chiempao as well. So yeah, big fan of Terra Water and Okidogi. And then spread-wise, you can experiment a little. A lot of players just run max attack, but I still think that you want to run some bulk on Okidogi. So something like this is possible. I would first try to figure out which speed stat you want to hit, and then adjust your HP and attack accordingly. We've also got Rain, and I know that Rain also features more Pokemon than just Ursaluna and Pelipper. Like, the best performing Rain team in EYC had Iron Hands, it had Baxcalibur, but the main abusers of Rain are still Pelipper and Ursaludon. I mean, Pelipper is the Rain setter as well. And we've seen different items. Life Orb is actually the most common item, but obviously Sash and Helmet have been used as well. And Protect, I mean, obviously some of the Pelipper run Protect. Interesting enough, on the Tailwind slot, I mean, White Guard is just incredible. White Guard just almost fully stops Hard Trick Room, and White Guard is also just really good against Regidrago stuff, because usually Rain does tend to struggle against Regidrago stuff, but with White Guard you at least have another option available. And Terra Steel, yeah, it's Terra Steel, okay? I've talked about Terra Steel enough today. And if you want Tailwind, the question once again remains, how fast should your Pelipper be? I do think it's cool to outspeed Dondozo, so 96 is my recommendation. That way you also still have enough room to play bulk. Like something like this is definitely not bad. You can also run a faster Pelipper than Ursaluna. If you are worried about like max speed Adamant Ursaluna, you can run something like this as well. It depends on your playstyle. This also has the advantage that you outspeed Jolly Chiempao, by the way, while the other one only outspeeds like Adamant Chiempao. So yeah, I do think this spread can work. And trust me, Life Orb Pelipper hits like a truck, OKOing Among Us and Incineroar and more. So yeah, I do think Pelipper is like somewhat alright. It's not terrible. It's not great. The stats are not amazing, right? But I won a regional with it, so I still want to give some credit to Pelipper. And then we've got Ursaluna, the main rain abuser. And the question is, what moves do you run? Currently, the most common set drops body press, but you can obviously also play body press instead of one of your stabs, or maybe instead of Snarl. But Snarl is so good. There are so many special attackers, and it just keeps Call Might, Raging Bolt, and check as well. Otherwise, Raging Bolt might just Call Might on you, and that's annoying. So Snarl is really good against that. If you want to know more, I recommend watching the Birmingham set between Flavio Del Pidio and Simone Samvito, where you can see the merit of Snarl. Some people play Draco instead of Dragon Pulse. I do not like Draco that much on Ursaluna because you click Electro Shot once, and then you are +1, and then you can just do your consistent damage with Dragon Pulse, but then you have to Draco, and then you're -1 suddenly, and then your damage output is lagging. So I like Dragon Pulse a little more. Some players play Terra Grass, some play Terra Bug. Bug, as I said before, it's better into Landorus, way better, but Grass helps against Urshifu to some extent. Like, Terra Bug is better against close combat, but Terra Grass is better against Surging Strikes. So, yeah, it's a give and take. Terra Bug is better into Champo, because with Terra Grass, you're always like susceptible to Sacred Sword or Acycle Crash. Terra Bug is at least better into that, but Grass is better into Amoonguss. Also, once again, to some extent, because Sludge Bomb is super effective, but yeah, decisions. But yeah, Ursaluna, I don't really recommend it, but I know that some players play like Modest, go for the first bump here, and then they go like max SPDF. Maybe not this, they still play some speed, but something closer to this. And I do understand it, because Ursaluna, in like Regidrago matchups, you have to take the special hits from Golding, go from Iron Crown. It's also a really good Pokemon into Iron Crown, especially with Snarl. So yeah, I do recommend running a lot of special defense. Do not make the mistake to play like a very fast Ursaluna. I don't think it's worth it, because Ursaluna already is not great in the meta, but if it can do something, it's standing on the field and just annoy your opponent with Snarl and Electro Shot. I also wanted to give a shout to the Tailwind Warring Moon that won Toronto Regionals. Kerry Ortona used this Terra Poison Warring Moon to great success with Breaking Swipe. Some people used Terra Fairy Warring Moon as well. There was one Italian player, Sidi Bardiane, who used this Warring Moon set with Terra Fairy to get top 16 finish in EYC with, and I do like it. I think it's pretty strong. The spread is something like this, because that way you survive a -1 close combat from Urshifu, you survive Dragon Pulse from Raging Bolt, and you are max speed, so you outspeed most Fluttermane as well. If you ask me which Terra type is better, Fairy or Poison, it depends on your team. Fairy is obviously great against Dragon types, but Poison is better into Fluttermane, because otherwise, like, your opponent can click Tailwind, Terra, Fairy, Moonblast with Choice Specs or something. Poison can help against that, but then once again, Fairy is better into like Dondozo, denying order up, but then on the flip side, Poison is better against like Glimora stuff, so that you don't get poisoned by Mortal Spin and so on. So yeah, in the end, just preference thing, but you want to have a Terra that resists fighting, I guess, so both of them work. And I was a big fan of its Warring Moon. I brought it to a local, it carried me quite a bit, so you should at least try it out. We've also seen this Goldango, this exact Goldango was used by City Badiane on the same team I just mentioned. And Leftovers is pretty cool. I think Citrus is slightly stronger. I used Citrus Berry in the GC to get second in Europe and I think fifth globally, or was it sixth? It was in the top 10 for sure. And Citrus Berry Goldango was also really cool because you can just get a plot up and still be healthy enough. Terra Flying is really good into Landorus. And yeah, I do recommend running a rather bulky spread if you run Leftovers or Citrus Berry. Usually 68 Modest is enough. You can also run 84 Modest, you can run 52 Modest, but I would not go higher than that. And then I would invest a lot into bulk. You want to outspeed Gouging Fire and Tyrant, and the number to outspeed Gouging Fire and Tyrant is 118 because Gouging Fire hits 235. So you hit 236, but then I mentioned the one Flutter main, right, with 158, which is 237, so you can hit 238 as well. So I think 119 speed is not terrible. You can also, if you drop to -1, I think 119 speed is 78, which speed ties Arcanine Hisui. Like, let's say opponent has Flutter main Arcanine Hisui and you have a Goldango Roaring Moon and you click Tailwind, but when the Flutter main moves clicks Icy Wind, you want your Goldango to outspeed Arcanine and Tailwind, which is why you need to run 120 if I remember correctly. But then you can put the remaining EVs into bulk and play something around those lines. I think Plot Goldango is massively underrated. I do know that it has some rough matchups, like it doesn't like to face down Incineroar or Raging Ball with Calm Mind, which wins with 1v1 long term. But there are some matchups where you just click Plot and then you just let it rain. So yeah. Entei, one of my favorite Pokemon, and you know what's crazy? I forgot to change the Terra type. I am the only one who's running Flare Blitz. And I will die on this hill. You are never allowed to drop Flare Blitz on Entei. Why are people doing this? It makes no sense. Flare Blitz is just the strongest move available and people don't play it. It's like... I don't know. I honestly do not understand it. Like, I wish I could. It's like you have Make It Rain on Goldango, and you're like, nah, I think Flash Cannon is better. No, this is not how it works. But yeah, Sacred Fire is a good move. Still, Flare Blitz is better. Extreme Speed, really strong priority. Stomping Tantrum hits Heatran, Raging Bolt, Ogerpon Halfling with Terrestrialized, and stuff like that. Inner Focus, like it's similar to Dragonite, just a little weaker. Dragonite has 134 attack, while Entei has 115 attack. The advantage of Entei, however, is a defensive profile that Dragonite doesn't have, but also vice versa. Like, obviously, Dragonite has the defensive profile against Half-Flame, against Rapid Strike, but Entei has the defensive profile against, like, Flutter Mane, for example. Also, I do think that, like, the stab moves from Entei are better, like Sacrifice and Flare Blitz are better than like Aerial Ace, Outrage, Dragonclaw. But those are not great. But if you just think about an E-Speed bot, Dragonite is obviously the better choice. But I really do like Entei because it also provides some speed. It outspeeds all the Pokemon up to Urshifu. It outspeeds Modest Iron Crown, so that's pretty cool. And we've seen different like movesets. As I said, this is a very common moveset. Some people also play Stone Edge instead of Flare Blitz. I still don't understand it. I, for example, dropped Stomping Tantrum for Stone Edge. Stone Edge is just good against like Rain Dance Tornadoes. You still have a strong move. It's good into Half Flame because if you have Flare Blitz and Stomping Tantrum only, you play like this Mind Game. Does he Terra? Does he not? But with Stone Edge, you just don't care. So that's cool. Some people play Life Orb Entei. It also finished 18th, I think, in EOAC. Manrush used it, and then you drop Flare Blitz for Protect. which is still not correct, I think. I think you should drop Sacred Fire, but I'm not making the rules. And then Citrus Berry also wants Protect on the Flare Blitz slot. And Citrus Berry Entei seems a little weird, but it's mainly paired with Sunny Day Fluttermane. Or Sunny Day Tornadus, and that's really cool because suddenly with Entei it has good bulk because of a high HP stat mainly, but with Citrus Berry it just gets multiple moves off, and it's really annoying to deal with. I played against that on ladder. I did play it myself, and I do think that Citrus Berry Entei, if you have a Sunny Day user somewhere, is not a bad choice. We've also got Whimsicott. I wanted to give Whimsicott a shout as well. Whimsicott is a Pokemon that is massively underrated right now, and I wish more people would play it. The most common Terra type is Fire. Some people play Steel or Ghost. Ghost is only used on Focus Sash variants, as you can see. And there's also the option to drop Fake Tears for Light Screen. Fake Tears is just incredibly strong if you have special attackers that are also Fake Out immune, like Terra Ghost Regidrago plus Fake Tears Whimsicott. Ay caramba. Or like Goldango next to Fake Tears Whimsicott. Ooh. So yeah, that's really cool. Or if you want to run a more balanced approach, you can obviously run Light Screen instead of Fake Tears. The biggest advantage, or like the biggest attribute Whimsicott has, is obviously the priority Tailwind. But also Anchor. Anchor is so incredible, and like the defensive profile of Fairy Grass is also not bad. Good into Rillaboom, good into Urshifu Rapid Strike, amazing into Raging Bolt, amazing into Incineroar, which drop Flare Blitz, like Knockoff, Fake Out, Parting Shot plus X. So yeah, Whimsicott really cool. Terra Fire is a good Terra type because that way you resist both Steel and Fire, which are two of the main weaknesses Whimsicott has. Terra Steel, however, does not resist fire. It instead keeps with fire weakness, but you are immune to poison, and you are resisted, like you resist flying. You do resist flying, which helps against tornadoes. And the poison immunity is something I want to highlight, because with Anchor, if a Landorus clicks Sludge Bomb, you can stun lock them with Terra Steel Anchor, and that's somewhat cool. I myself use Terra Electric Whimsicott to resist both Steel and Flying as well. Same thing that Terra Steel does, but getting rid of a fire weakness was pretty cool. So that's why I used Electric. It's not the norm, nobody's using it, but I still wanted to mention it. How do you invest? I still haven't said how you invest Entei, but if you want Choice Band, something like this Boring Spread works. I personally used this. If you want to know why, check out the team report that comes out on not on Wednesday, on Tuesday. And yeah, I did use that. If you want a Citrus Berry set, I featured like a spread on my YouTube channel somewhere. I think it had 208 HP. Was it something like... nah, I think it was Max Attack. Nah, I think it was this spread. But yeah, with Citrus Berry you can play more bulk. Assault Vest Entei had a good time in Regulation F 1.0, but nowadays nobody's using it anymore. If you want to use Assault Vest Entei with Terra Grass, grab the spread. You can find in the calc from Alex Underhill. I made multiple calcs with it, and it's still the best spread possible. But yeah, as for Whimsicott, I can show you the spread I decided to run. It was Timid with a nature or with enough EVs to outspeed Modest Landorus. And I also played some defense to survive a Surging Strikes after I Terra, like Mystic Water Surging Strikes, and then some special attack to get certain KOs, like Incineroar KO with Dragon Energy Moonblast and stuff like that. This was my spread. I do know that you can also run a bulkier spread with like a Calm nature as well, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. I like to be faster than Urshifu, and then it also makes sense to speed creep Landorus. I will talk about Smeargle first. Smeargle only sees play on like one particular team. It saw some play on hard trick room teams, but it fell off quite a bit on those. But on this one particular team with Choice Band Urshifu, Skyplate Tornadoes, Raging Bolt Chiyu, Landorus, like this very, very hyper offense team. This Smeargle is used occasionally. Obviously, we've seen this Tornado Smeargle combination towards the end of Regulation I with, I think Yuma used it first, Yuma Kinugawa, to get a top 4 finish in NAIC with it. But yeah, it's just really, really strong. Terra Ghost gets around Fake Out and Extreme Speed. You want to make speed to outspeed your own tornadoes so that you can decorate it before it can move. Spore is really devastating because tornadoes can punish with grass types, and yeah, with Fake Out, Spore, Decorate, there's no easy move you have against like the Smeargle, because if you want to play defensively to get around Fake Out by clicking Protect, your opponent can Decorate. Okay, what if you want to click Fake Out into Smeargle? It can go Terra Ghost. Okay, what if Smeargle survives one turn and suddenly gets a moody speed boost? Yeah, then you just shake hands and go into the next game. No, it's not as bad as I just told you, but yeah, Smeargle is still somewhat cringe. This spread is pretty cool, but you can also, depends on the rest of your team. Like sometimes you can survive Searching Strikes or Scale Shots and stuff like that, but you can also invest more into HP to survive like Tachyon does. Smeargle is not known for surviving, which is why you also only have to calc for certain double ups or like multi-hit moves, and then decide the spread based on that. And then there's Heatran, because Heatran made top cut in EYC. Heatran is my goat. I like Magma Storm Earth Power Substitute Heatran. Some people also use Heat Wave instead of Magma Storm. Some people use Flash Cannon instead of Substitute, but Heatran is really good in certain matchups. It's super strong into Hard Trick Room because of its typing plus Flash Fire's ability. Terra Bug, I told you before why Terra Bug is not a bad Terra type. And yeah, you can play a lot of bulk on Heatran or a lot of special attack, depends on your set. And yeah, Eva Flieger used it to get to top 16 with. So yeah, that is the overview over all teams from Regulation F. You can pick your favorite archetype. There are also some more archetypes I maybe left out, but like this is the core of Reg F, I would say. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. This video is quite long, I know that, but I wanted to share all my knowledge, everything I know, everything I learned, and hopefully you can do well in online tournaments. There's a very big online tournament on March 7th, for example. You can still play locals. There should still be a GC in March in Regulation F, and obviously the regionals, or like in general just ladder. You can use it in tournaments with your friends and stuff. So yeah, let me know what you thought about this video. Should I do this with the first champions format as well? I still am a big believer that we will get champions very soon. If I should do a video like this, give me a like, because that shows the best if I should continue this. And yeah, that being said, I will see you next time again with, I don't know what, GC one, or maybe my team report, or maybe my I played against series. I hope you will also watch those videos, because you can always learn a lot here. So yeah, see you next time. Until then, bye bye.